It's okay. You're supposed to do that, brother. How you doing? Oh, ho, 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 ho. We're live. What's up, guys? This is episode 245. This is the Option Podcast. Y'all know who I am. You might know who that guy is. He looks like Jeffrey Kennedy Samuels. He's like, will you stop with the Kennedy stuff? That's not my middle name.
Never heard of him.
JKS, Jason Demetrious. The episode starts right now.
Okay.
Like that intro. I know, like after episode 200, I was like, I should change that, but I don't know. After, like Rogan has like his little music or whatever, all night, all day, whatever. That's actually Nick Diaz, the voice, the
Really?
Joe Rogan podcast, all night, all day. Yeah, I thought it was Rory McDonald, but it was Nick Diaz.
Huh.
What's up, Jay?
What's going on, man?
Yo, it's always good to have you in our lives. Jeff Samuels in the house, guys. So before we got on the podcast, well, you had practice this morning, or you scrimmed a little bit. Who'd you roll with today?
Me and Diego Perez, Ian Satterfield, and Chase Frishman.
Ian Satterfield, isn't he like one of the better human beings?
Ian's great.
You've like ever met? Yeah.
Yeah. Me and Ian go way back.
So Chase Frisch, you and the Jesus kid. All right, cool.
That's right.
So before we talk about volleyball, we're going to talk about something a little bit more interesting because it was just on the news, and me and you, of course, follow MMA a lot, right?
Yeah.
So Jon Jones like retires, and then like 12 hours later, the story comes out that they're charging him with leaving the scene of an accident.
Another one?
Yeah, right. Dude, this is like OJ getting caught with another dead white girl, and it's just like, and OJ's like, I know what you're thinking. You think I did it?
There's a reasonable explanation for this.
So I actually have the article like pulled up. MMA Junkie does more of an extensive thing because MMA Junkie is they're mixed martial arts based. So they are. Let's just plug into that for a minute. All right. The details of the criminal complaint reported by Jon Jones, including accusations that Jones left the scene of the crash with a half-naked, intoxicated woman in the car. And then when reached by phone, the man thought to be Jones made allusions of violence to multiple police officials. Now, that's what the initial story is. But if you watch the video, he is threatening people. He's like, my brothers and my people will make sure you guys are dead and all that stuff and this and that. Or we're on YouTube, I'll say unalive. And the cop is like, you talking about us? And then that portion of the video is like, not you, right? So, but if you watch certain versions of the video, they cut that part out. Like when he's like, not you, not to the police. So MMA Junkie, which is MMA heavy, is more extensive because that's their wheelhouse in this. And that's our guy, right? Jon Jones is their guy. So what were you thinking when you saw that?
Man, I saw little tidbits pop up online about it. And, you never know what's real and fake on. People are always looking for you to click on stuff. So I couldn't really tell what was going on, but I was like, this can't be true again. Because he's been relatively quiet for the past few years, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's a little tough. Tough to hear. Especially when you're a fan and you're rooting for him.
Look, when you are as talented as that guy, right? You want to root for that guy. Like, you as a volleyball player, I want to root for you, right? And like if you have this up and down career, but you still have goals, and when you get to some of those goals, I think there's a part of me that's cool to say, hey, I was there the whole time, but and I'm not jumping in front of the parade. But on a personal level, you cheer for them because athletes like that inspire you, or like not you inspire. I'll just say people like me. I don't play anymore. People like me to do other things well. That have nothing to do with your wheelhouse, right? Be like Mike, right? We were watching Last Dance yesterday, right? Yeah. Maybe we don't want to be like Mike off the field, right? Off the court, right? But he's not. But there's a distinction. He's not committing any crime, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of, from an outside perspective, a lot of views on like what people want people to be or what they should be or a role model in this or that. Maybe this guy's just like, hey, I wanted to live my life and fight and like, but everyone's like, oh, you're a role model, you got to do this and that, which obviously people are going to model themselves after him, right? But like, maybe he's just a good fighter.
And I think that's what people are missing.
Yeah.
I think Jordan said it best. Jordan's like, you know, if what I'm doing on the court inspires you to do things well in your life, then in that case, I'm your role model, right? But if you expect something more than me, then I'm probably the role model or the person you should not be following.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan wasn't as much of an angel as people think he was. You know, you didn't hear a lot about a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this guy was out gambling and drinking and up all night with, I'm not gonna,
God knows what.
Yeah,
we keep it clean.
Doing whatever. Like even back in that time, like he had a child outside of his marriage, or he wasn't married or whatever it was. And like at that time, that was a big deal. A lot of people would have looked at him a little bit differently back then if they had known that that was the case. But at the end of the day, like we're all humans. It's kind of hard to be held to such a high standard when it's like, oh, well, let me look at your life. Like, you know, like what mistakes have you made? If your life was under a microscope or spotlight, like what kind of mistakes did you make in your life? You know, like it's really tough to hold people to such a high standard. Lord knows I've made mistakes, you know, I'm not perfect, but I mean, like, you know, you can judge someone's heart, you know, and ultimately we're not the judge, right? Like it's not up to me to judge whether or not, you know, Jon Jones is a bad guy or a good guy. You know what I'm saying? I can take bits and pieces of what I see from him and take the good out of that. You know, I had plenty of mentors and guys, well, maybe not mentors, but guys who I've learned a lot from, who I had to compartmentalize, like what sections of their game or their lifestyle or their attitude or tendencies that I wanted to like take, you know?
Yeah. And it also has a lesson, and the reason why I even brought up Jon Jones, because I thought it was a perfect segue to what we consider a role model, and one, and two, like escapism versus career. And we can certainly get into that. But I co-sign what you said in the sense that there's a distinction between role models and saints, right? And I thought Jordan in the 90s really did a good job. I want to be like my commercials, he's there with kids and the Gatorade or whatever. And I think in that respect, if that inspires you, that's your role model, right? And he was very clear at the end of The Last Dance, like if the other stuff off the court doesn't inspire you, then you probably shouldn't follow me. Not you should be canceled. Not you should be ashamed of yourself. You shouldn't follow me. It's like, Jeff, like we're both old enough to have a TV with knobs, right? Where we're like, if you didn't like what you're watching on TV, you didn't have a remote, you just got up and you just turned the channel or you turned it off.
Yeah. I mean, and everybody's journey that you watch or experience may not be meant for you anyways, right? Like you got to figure out what's meant for you to be able to take bits and pieces of what you see, you know?
Yeah.
Like you may be able to look at Jordan's experience and equate that to like, I need more fire, or the dark side. Like I need more of that to translate into my world or whatever it is, you know, like, or you look at somebody else who didn't have that, like a LeBron who was a lot less edgy than Jordan, right? Like, and you can take that and use that experience in your life, and that's up to you and what you're.
Yeah, and the off the court goat, right? Like some of the stuff he's doing off the court is goat stuff.
Yeah, and I'm not. Trust me, I'm not like a advocate for like LeBron being even one of the top 2 or 3 players of all time. He's up there.
I think so.
But one thing that you can say about him is like he didn't really have any off. You never heard anything about him off the court.
He's
the goat. So
married his high school sweetheart.
Right.
Never and no controversies. They gave him like, you know, I fresh out of high school, you get this dude like how many millions of dollars, and you know he wasn't like Papi Chulo in it.
Yeah, right? And as much as I love Kobe,
Yeah,
like, you know, like
Kobe's.
there were a few things where you're like, well, maybe this guy isn't as good of a guy. But like, to me, I've just always been able to like, none of these guys are perfect, right? And they're gonna make mistakes, and just because they do make mistakes doesn't mean that like there are people out there that are like, well, Kobe raped someone, so he deserves to die and all this. And it's like,
Right.
well, bro, like, I don't know if it's true if he did it or not, but if he did, I'm gonna judge him off of his overall energy, his overall, you know, personality. What has he done? Like,
Yeah.
maybe he's made some mistakes in his life.
And who are you now? Right.
Yeah. What is he doing now? And what else has he done?
Right.
You know, and then ultimately I realized that I'm not the judge.
And it's I can't believe we're starting out the block like in this form of conversation, because it does sound like we're preaching to people. And I think Shannon Sharp said it the best. Like, just because you see where someone stands doesn't mean you know how they got there, right?
Exactly.
Someone might be the perfect image of you now, but there's some time in their life they were up against it, right?
Yeah, and we all start from different positions, right?
Yeah,
we all start from different places. You may look at my career and be like, oh, it was inconsistent. It's like, well,
yeah,
where did this guy come from? Did he grow up on the beach? Did he grow up in the South Bay? Did he grow up playing volleyball? You know, a lot of people look at me and they're like, dang, they see me in person. They're like, I thought you were a lot taller than that. I'm like, no, I'm still 6'1". You know, still a 6'1" blocker.
You get the Patrick Swayze from Roadhouse thing? I thought you'd be bigger.
So it's like a lot of people have all these perceptions of what they think you should be or how they would handle it. And it's like, well, if you were handling it, you would be here right now. You'd be sitting right here.
God, that's another good subject matter. Like, blockers who are big at the net, right? Like, we could talk about, we'll jump off of Jon Jones, but I'd also like to talk about people like you and Trevor, and like some other people that are not considered like bigs, but nobody ever considers you undersized when you're on the court. You know, like, well,
Trevor's probably 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah,
right?
But Trevor plays big. Like, you know, when he was a full-time blocker, no one said he was too undersized for this level or that level. On the net. There's, you know, unless there's this huge distinction where it's like Ivandro, who's like 6'11", who's just like, you know, and can jump. So
yeah. Well, I mean, that's another thing. And like, people are like, oh, well, yeah, but you jump high and you have long arms. And it's like, bro, I don't care how high you jump. I don't care how long your arms are. You come to Hermosa or Manhattan and you're starting out and you need to go through the quali, right? And then you're going to play one of the top 4 teams. And then you got to be able to keep that up for 2-3 days, right? I don't care how well you jump. I haven't been able to see anybody do that at 6'1" ever. So
not at the level.
Yeah, it's an endurance sport, and it's just you know.
Yeah, think about it, like,
be tough.
Yeah, think about it. Like, on a regional,
I'm not saying it's impossible.
No, it is. It's near. I mean, we'll go so bold as to say near impossible, right? Yeah. Or as close to impossible as impossible could get, right? As close to fact as an opinion could get. Yeah, because as far as like on the level and spectrum you're talking about, I'll go with you. It's impossible. It's just they need to take guys like you to the lab, you know, dissect you like a little frog and see, you know, figure out how that works, right? Because some of the things you do actually defy science.
I don't really know. I mean, granted, I would have loved to like win multiple AVPs, right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy with.
You've had a couple of close ones. You had some close seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm pretty happy. Like, I mean, I'm pretty happy. I think that the route that I went and where I started, and I started when I was 23, 22. So, I mean, like, getting here for me, the first time I saw an AVP, I was in Michigan, and I was like, my buddy gave me a DVD. It was Manhattan or something. And I was like, oh, that's going on out there. I was playing like backyard volleyball at 21 years old or 22. And I'm like, that's happening out there. And I was like, I'm going to do that. Did I know that was going to actually happen? And I was going to move out here and, you know, actually get a good crack at it or get an opportunity? Not 100%, no. But like, for me, like, from where I started to what I got to, I mean, for me, that's, you know.
Some would consider an overachievement, but I think, Jeff, what you in your mind consider a win or winning in life or winning on the court is significantly different than others. And I don't know if this happened to you recently,
Hmm.
but there's a liberating feeling of saying, "Hey, I'm an exceptional player, and this title here in Manhattan Beach or whatever, it would be nice if I had it, but it doesn't define me." So, and this is a conversation I think we had in our last episode. Um, and maybe it left an itch that neither one of us could scratch, which is why I'm bringing it back up now. But I think the reason why I think you're doing better now and your finishes, like you've had good finishes in your past,
Hmm.
but they were sporadic. You would have a fifth and then gone. But now you're like third here, second here, Motherlode, one, right, with Sam Schachter. Congratulations, by the way. Um,
Thanks.
and I think there's something liberating about the way you train mentally that affects your physical, that gives you some volleyball consistency.
Hmm.
I
Well,
want
that's
you to
another
talk.
thing. You got
I
to be
need
able to
you. Yeah.
learn all those things
Yeah.
too, right? Like, so, I mean, when you're exposed to certain things,
Mm-hmm.
especially the younger in age that you're exposed to them, the more time you're going to have to hone in on those things. So, like, I didn't find some of these things mentally or even physically that I could work on until it was like, oh, well, your physical peak is here, your mental peak is, here or there. Like, all these, there's so many different factors that have to line up correctly for this to work out. And looking from the outside, it may be like, oh, I thought this guy was going to be the best, or that guy was going to be the best because of this or that. And you have no idea, um, you know, what that person has gone through, or where that person started, or this person may have family issues, or he may have to work, this other guy may have to work 2 jobs just to make ends meet, to be able to afford that lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when I lived here, I was working 2 jobs, and it was tough. I mean, I would practice early in the morning and then be done by like 10, come home, take a nap. Mind you, walking these hills up and down, or biking up and down.
The ultimate cross trainer.
And then I would go coach with you. What time did we start practice?
We in the summer, and like after time zones,
Yeah.
it would be 4 to 6,
4 to 6, right?
and then winter we would go 3:30 to 5:30.
So-
Sometimes 3 to 5 because it's just too
So let's
dark.
just say 5:30.
Yeah.
And then I would be able to take a quick nap, and then I would be working at Tower or Palmia. I was working at both.
Right.
Um,
You worked at Pomilla?
yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Until
I forgot. Only pretty boys get to work there.
yeah, until, depending on
Yeah.
the shift and the
Mhm.
which one I was working at, till midnight or 2:30, 3 a.m., and then have to wake up and do the same thing. And after a while, that'll wear you out, right? So like, and this is one of the most expensive places to live. But if you're somebody in Austin, Texas, looking at like, oh, this guy Jeff, he looks like he's gonna be pretty good, but they don't see,
The journey.
they don't see the journey. And it's cool to be able to even be in a conversation where people are, betting on your success or failure, which is cool. Whatever, it didn't really affect me too much, but like,
I just think that those are just different ways to skin a cat, right?
yeah.
Like there are people. No, sorry, you had a thought.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
All right, there are people who came up that didn't have to work 2 jobs, right?
A lot of these guys don't have to work any job.
I'll give you an example, like Miles Partain, right? The best training money could buy. Went to Pal States, product of his environment. Went to UCLA, right? And I'm not saying that doesn't command the same amount of work, or in some,
No, you got to put the
in
work
some
into it,
cases
right?
even
Yeah.
more, considering where he's not even his finish, but like where he is in stature, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it goes both ways too, because
Yeah.
even if you are someone who is comfortable in life,
Mhm.
and you don't have to work, mentally it makes that
Right.
tough as well, right? Because it's like, at the end of the day, if I don't do well,
Mhm.
then it doesn't really matter if I don't do well,
Right.
Because either way I'm going to eat. Either way I'm going to go back to my comfy home and comfy
Yeah.
family,
Yep.
comfy, like
Yep.
either way, I'm good. I don't have to win. So like that really helped me in the beginning is like especially like coming up in the regional circuits and
Yeah.
playing tournaments like NVL days.
NVL was.
I'll tell you what, it helped me in the not having funding when I played the NVL. It really helped me because I was like, I have to win. I didn't have as much skill as some of the other guys who were playing that tour, especially when I started out. But just off energy of like, yo, I'm hungry. I need to eat. Like, I will.
This is my next meal.
I will beat you on just sheer energy and will right now, and that was good enough. But once you get to a certain like skill level that you're playing against,
right,
it's kind of like, oh well, this guy gets a couple. Not that I can judge it when I'm doing it, but like, you know, getting a few massages a week really is going to help. Having a personal trainer and a coach is really going to help. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As opposed
also
to
having the luxury of a good partner. I mean, we're not talking about rationalizations here as much as we're talking about realities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think on the tour, the best partner in your career on the tour, not
Mm-hmm.
off the tour, because you play with Ricardo, you play with Olympians,
Mm-hmm.
and oh, by the way, you've won with them, right? So, I think Michael Brunstein, lefty, you know, that you played with. You played with Satterfield. And you played with some young, like hot shots, like you and Chris Vaughn played for a short time together. But Chris Vaughn, like that, the year before that, and that he was so much fun to watch. The dude was balling, man.
Yeah,
you know, I had the pleasure of being in your corner, of course, in Manhattan Beach, right? And
I played with Derek.
Oh, Derek Olson, yeah.
Yeah, that was probably.
And that was the fifth, right? San Fran or something like that.
Yeah,
yeah.
Did pretty
So
well. And Brunstein was a great partner for me too.
Yeah. So those things come into play, and for the people listening, I'm not trying to suggest that there is more nobility in like not having everything everybody else has and getting where you are working harder, but
use what you got.
But it's certainly
everything you get, and I don't hate on anybody that has it better or different or started in a different position. To be honest with you, it's all perspective. Just I look at it this way: in the school I grew up in, right? So I grew up near Flint, Michigan, right? So Flint's right here. It's like probably one of the worst places in America, right? And Grand Blanc, Michigan is the next little town over, right? And Grand Blanc's very wealthy. They got a PGA Tour stop. They like it's the polar opposite of growing up in Flint, right? But all the kids in Flint were beefing with each other, shooting each other, killing each other, getting into bad stuff, and all the kids in Grand Blanc, they were killing themselves. Like we had like several kids kill themselves at home. One kid hung himself in the school, like in the bathroom, or they would get in drunk driving stuff and kill their buddy in the car by accident. But whatever it was that was bothering either one of those sides so much, they felt that it was necessary to do what they were doing. From their perspective, it was that bad. So it really doesn't even matter at the end of the day. It's from my perspective or your perspective, whatever you're going through feels the same. It feels just as bad or just as horrible in your eyes, the things that you go through versus the things that I go through. So I've at the end of the day, it is ultimately about, getting on the court and doing the best you can with what you have.
It's as close to a meritocracy as it can be. I mean, right? You're on the court, it's 2-on-2, and either you're good enough or you're not. Of course, I'm not going to ignore the lurking variables. That's like saying, Jay, come play with me this weekend, right? And how about we playing Taylor and Trevor, right? That's a fair matchup for me to start out. But you know what I'm saying? I understand that there are different starting blocks. For this 100-meter dash, but I guess I have a personal bias towards you because one, you had to do more with less. And we're not calling Brunstein and some of the partners you had less, because we are talking about the upper echelon of beach volleyball, right? You and Chris Vaughn, you might have been ranked 14th, but you're talking 32 teams in the draw. and you're talking out of hundreds, maybe
thousands.
maybe a thousand,
There's thousands.
maybe thousands of
I mean,
teams.
if you're gonna look on,
No, but you're talking about
in a tournament.
Let's talk
like,
about thousands of teams at the Open and Double A level or Triple A
Yeah.
or what have you, and you're in the top 32. So you're in the top 1 percentile. So I'm
Well-
not saying that I'm calling them less.
Yeah.
You know, this is the top 2 or 1 percentile of beach volleyball.
Yeah.
But the reason why I have personal bias is because my lived experience makes me involuntarily do that.
Mhm.
Like you grew up in Flint, right? I grew up Flatbush Avenue.
Right.
In a very, very rough neighborhood. And I was lucky enough to have friends to tell me to stay my behind on the block. And for them to tell me like, you're not about that life, but because you grew up here,
Yeah.
you know it when you see it, right? So my 3 closest friends I grew up, we're all good. They were kind of good or whatever, right? But like my associates, the guys I was friendly with, almost all of them are dead or in jail.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I lived on a quiet cul-de-sac, dead end street in a wild, at that time, not gentrified, wild neighborhood. So, and I'm interested in volleyball.
Right.
What? Who's going to teach me? Right. How do I get a real ball? I don't. I get this plastic ball, and I'm in the backyard, and I'm in the snow, passing to myself up in the air, keeping the neighbors up because when it's quiet, right, and you hear boom, like a volleyball, boom, boom, boom. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, this kid again." So, you know, and that's really how. I mean, my self belief. Not trying to make this about me, but my self belief has given me quite a run on the indoor scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's I would say top 5%, not top 1, right? I played professionally, but if I was good enough, I would have played more than 2 years, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, either you're good enough or you're not. Am I still better than them? You know, fine. But
yeah, I mean, and ultimately,
so, but that's where my table that footnote that thought. But that's why I involuntarily show a bias towards you. There's, and I'm gonna go back. I want to land by saying this: just because people see where you stand, doesn't mean they know how you got there.
Yeah, exactly.
You still have your thought, right?
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah, I
no.
don't remember.
See what I did?
It's all good.
See what I did? But this is so much more interesting than talking about Jon Jones because but I knew introducing Jon Jones and my genius would make this and so many other subject matters. But I want to land by saying question.
Yeah.
One more question about MMA. Then one more question about NBA.
All right.
Does Jon Jones PED things disqualify him from being the GOAT?
Did you come up with that, or did somebody
just now?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think a lot of those dudes are probably on some stuff.
Okay.
So it's really tough to say.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely taints it, right?
Right.
But
I will say,
I don't think so. I think this guy would have won anyway.
I think he would have won anyway too.
Yeah.
You know why? Because the variable no one's talking about is
he's just
a lot of these matches he's never even trained for.
Yeah.
And the
he's out partying beforehand, and I'm not even sure that
and the PEDs he got caught were like
we're not even sure that he was really
pills
on
and like I'm not going to say the word, but like PP pills
right.
and like recreational drugs, right?
Yeah. I don't think this guy was like shooting a needle up, like
no
steroids. I don't think that.
I really don't.
And also, I think he just also thinks that he's too good to like. He might have taken something that had something that was banned in, and I don't know the whole ins and outs.
Well, you're an elite athlete, and you know.
Well, I don't know the ins and outs of his. Yeah, what the exact recipe that he got, he got flagged for was or whatever. I'd have to look deeper into that. But to be honest with you, like, I don't think it would have really mattered.
No, and I think I always steer away from the GOAT, but then I think about what drugs. And I think about like the training he did that he just absolutely dominated. He admitted later on, like he's dominated so many matches. He's like, dude, I was partying every weekend. I was in Brazil, this
he
and
said
that.
He actually dealt with some anxiety stuff to the point where like he would go out, like he couldn't help but go out the week of his fights all the time, right before the fight to kind of like, I don't know.
I remember he said to Daniel Cormier, he says, I did a weekend of cocaine and I kicked your butt.
Yeah.
It was a heck of a weekend. And everyone started clapping. You know what Daniel Cormier
Yeah.
said? He said this Jack A. He said this Jack A just admitted that he used illegal drugs. Did you hear?
That's Jon Jones, man.
Yeah. But I
Jones.
only asked you because we both know that there are substances that are legal to take as a civilian, right?
Mhm.
But are banned substances according to whatever you're on the list of what sport you play. Like you're a beach volleyball player and MMA, right? But then there are drugs that are illegal on the market that are not on the banned substance list. Like he didn't do a lot of time for like the cocaine thing because cocaine, to our surprise,
yeah, it's not on there.
All right, we jump off of Jon Jones and may God.
Like weed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just think if Jon just accepts that everyone sees him as a good guy and not a great guy, I think he'll be okay. But stop talking about I'm a child of God, Jesus this, I'm Lord, this and that, right? Just how about just be a good fighter? He's done some crime fighting too. I remember someone snatched a woman's purse.
That's the thing, is like he'll go save a lady from a burning building.
Yes.
But he just can't stop running into people hammered and fleeing the scene, which is like.
Do you remember the first time he fled the scene? He left and he came back and to get money out of the car. And I'm like, if you flee the scene and you come back to get money, Jeff, you deserve it. How much are we talking about here? I mean, if you're a millionaire and you go back to the car to get money, how much money are we talking about? But the GOAT. I like him. I like Demetrious Johnson. The weight division doesn't get a lot of attention, but if you look at his fights and how entertaining he was, and in the manner how he finished them. I don't know if you remember, there was one fight he threw someone in the air, and while the dude was in the air, had an arm bar. So by the time the guy landed, he was trapped in an arm bar he couldn't get out of. Wow. I mean, they put it in slow motion.
Really watched
he did a judo flip. But in the middle of the judo flip, they did it in slow motion. He jumped in the air and armbarred the guy. Because most guys, they don't look out for an armbar until after they hit the ground. They're on the ground. Now you're in defense. Got to do this. Got to defend against this. And in air, you and me can rehearse that. Like cooperatively. All right, Jeff, I need you to get me this armbar. Would be able to get up off the ground. No. And this dude did it in a fight. When it mattered. Yeah. Wild. So I got DJ in my whatever. One more question before we jump off of NBA. And that question is, in no particular order, who do you have as your top 5 GOATs?
Top 5 GOATs, all time, any era?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'll just give an example. In no order. I go MJ, right? I go Kareem. They're one of the most unstoppable moves in the sky hook, and was doing a lot of things that people today can't stop. I go Mamba. The guy was trying to clone Jordan. He's longer, he's leaner, a leaner version of Jordan. I go LeBron, and the guy no one talks about. I go Tim Duncan. Oh, yeah. Those are my 5.
Yeah. Because you just can't be that quiet and be the GOAT.
No,
sorry.
I know, but also there's always going to be if you say top 5, there's always a player that we're going to disrespect. That's not going to be in this list. Like Shaq probably could or should be on this list. I don't have him on my list.
You got to win it. You know, you got to win it a little more.
You also got to hit your free throws too.
I would go MJ, Russell.
Oh, Bill Russell.
Yeah.
Celtics. Okay.
Because he's got 11.
He won as a player and a coach too.
Yeah, but he has 11.
I know.
Yeah, 11. How could you go?
But back in the day, he was a coach and he won one season as a coach and a player.
Really? Yeah, he was a player coach. That's right.
So you got MJ,
Russell, Kareem.
That's 3.
Kobe. That's 4.
Nice.
And then my 5th. Dang, I didn't put LeBron in there yet. He's got to be.
You don't have to.
If he's not, he might be even like 4 for me.
Right.
But
there's no order. That we were talking about no order.
Okay, no order.
We all agree one is
good.
As long as we all agree one is MJ.
Yeah.
Do we both agree one is MJ?
100, okay, without a doubt. Because to me, like, the way you transcend the game, the way you affect the game and the world, the basketball world overall, the sports world overall, like that is like, that does mean a lot to me in my pick, right? Like none of those guys are my favorite athlete though, by the way. And like, it would have been probably Muhammad Ali. And
your favorite athlete?
Yeah.
Ali, yeah.
But maybe about 8 or 9 years ago, I discovered who Ayrton Senna was, and he's definitely, without a doubt, my favorite athlete.
If we're speaking in terms of favorite athletes and not GOATs, wow, let's have fun, Jeff.
Yeah, that's probably
so. You had favorite. Ali. Who else?
Well, Ayrton Senna, Formula One race car driver, and like he has a Netflix kind of like a docu-series that came out, but like I think it was like Will to Win. It was a documentary that came out. I think it might have been only on YouTube for a while, but that's originally what like got me into loving him so much. So he's probably like my favorite athlete. MJ's probably like my third or fourth favorite athlete. But
I think as far as inspiring athletes, I really like, I know people don't consider this a sport, but we're talking about athletes. I go Bret Hitman Hart. Because he was inspiring. He wasn't like Hulk Hogan.
The one that passed away in the ring.
No, that was Owen. Owen died in the ring. His brother Owen. He's the dark hair one. Owen's the blonde, right? Okay. But in an age where like the jacked up, muscle bound guys like Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, and the mythological giants like Big John Studd, Andre the Giant, Yokozuna, like all of these huge guys were like, if you go in a ring, Bret Hart's height and weight, you're too light to fight and too thin to win. And he found a way to market himself where he beat those guys. He beat Yokozuna. He beat Diesel, who was 7 feet tall, at the time. Him and Shawn had one of the best feuds, Shawn Michaels. And he was to me, he was the true say your prayer, take your vitamins thing. Because Hogan had this say your prayer, take your vitamins thing, even though we knew the vitamins were a little bit different. Hogan had this take your say, but at the same time, he's 6'8", 302 pounds, right? So you're like, I'm gonna take my prayers and say my vitamins, but even my wildest dreams, I can't do what Hogan's gonna do. Right. But then you got Bret Hart, right? 6'1", maybe 6 feet tall, right? Maybe walks around 245, right? Maybe walks around 245 and doing what makes the like my size and my build makes the impossible possible. So I like Bret Hart. For boxing, I like Mike Tyson because he was undersized for a heavyweight.
Tyson was amazing.
Yeah, didn't have the height, didn't have the reach.
But wait, nobody ever puts Jack Johnson in their top. I forgot to put him in there. He's definitely maybe like my top 2.
Jack Johnson. Tell everybody who that is.
Jack Johnson was the first black heavyweight boxer, world champion. World heavyweight champion. And
jeez. That's when they were doing 15 rounders outdoors.
Outdoors, and they wouldn't really even let black boxers they could fight, but they couldn't fight for the title for years and years.
Right.
This guy would chase the current heavyweight champion around wherever he was fighting. He would show up and kind of marketing campaign like his ambitions to fight for the title, and he was knocking everybody out basically. And this was at a time where like they were like, hey, we'll meet you outside and we'll kill you, that type of thing.
Well, he had to deal with that kind of,
he had to deal with that. And it was in a world where actually like Muhammad Ali got those kinds of threats. Nobody, not that I know of, really ever like threatened his life, but Jack Johnson was, I don't know, 20, 30 years before Muhammad Ali.
But he's pre-Joe Louis.
Yeah. And I mean, this was for him. He always was like, well, I just ignore it. I just don't really even see anything like that would bother me. He just was so unbothered by it that he began to like kind of change the narrative and change people's views and eyes in that time period. And if you look up his story, he's one of the most inspirational athletes probably of all time. His story's pretty ridiculous. He was like jailed for dating a white woman. It was a pretty crazy story. But Jack Johnson he was untouched for quite a long time as far as winning in the ring. He only lost one of his last few fights, but I mean, the guy was incredible.
Jack Johnson. Remember the name, people.
Yeah, Jack Johnson.
Yeah. And Muhammad Ali, there's something to be said about speaking out when it's not popular, right? Like you look at one of his stances he took back then, the Vietnam era and this and that, like, the Viet Cong never called me the N-word, blah, this and that. Like I never had a beef with them. I get treated, and you think about the vitriol he got as being unpatriotic. Well, you love those American dollars though, Muhammad Ali, right? So
yeah, but by the end, everyone loved him.
No, but they say history is always going to be kinder. If you're on the right side of history, it very rarely it's going to be kind to you at the moment. Like, right? Like I'm on the right side of history all the time, Jeff.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, even Muhammad Ali, a lot of his own people didn't like him at the beginning.
Right.
They wanted who did he fight in this the first fight?
Frazier. Well, Frazier was
the first
Sonny Liston.
Sonny Liston. I mean, even the black community thought that Sonny Liston would beat up the loudmouth Muhammad Ali, and that he was just all talk,
and Frazier too,
and that he was scared. And but I mean, Frazier did beat him.
He did, he beat the first fight. Match.
Yeah, and Muhammad won the second two, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
that's what happens when you say you have God on your side, right? Like me, like I know Clark, Coach Clark is not gonna like me saying this, but when it comes to on the court, God's got better things to do.
That's my thing on it. Like I'm gonna pray for, like, don't get me wrong, overall
pray for the strength.
Yeah, pray for the strength. I mean, the one prayer I've done before our game with our team is like, hey, I want to pray that we put a smile on somebody's face out here today. I want to pray that we inspire somebody. Like, I've never prayed to win, because this volleyball, what am I winning? It's not like putting food on my table. It's not, it's not really changing anyone's life or even really mine, to be honest with you.
Right.
But I'm going to pray to, like, my family's safe. I'm going to pray for people over in Israel and Iran. I'm going to pray for people in Russia and Ukraine. I'm going to pray for my friend Jason. I'm going to pray, that's what I'm going to pray for. And not to say that, like, everybody's praying for W's. I'm not saying that, but, like, when I go play volleyball, this is my release. This is my one chance. I'll pray when I get home or in between or before I go, pray for my safety. But, like, volleyball is just, it's a big part of my life. It's a big part of my life. And I've loved every second of it, the ups and the downs, the wins and losses, but not really necessarily thinking God is, and it's not to me that, like, God's hand isn't in everything. I'm a firm believer in God. His hand is in everything that I do. And I always want to represent him in everything that I do. But that's pretty evident in the way that,
I think the ones that mention it are the ones that get themselves in trouble. Like Ali got knocked down because he put that.
Yeah, I mean, afterward, you're doing an interview. You give thanks to God.
Yes,
I would, but I don't really.
Even gangster rappers give thanks to God.
Yeah, I don't know.
Come on, I'm accepting a Grammy. I'm like, I want to thank Jesus Christ as my savior. Don't forget to buy the single Fresh Up a Motherfucker's Bar. Did you just say volleyball's your release?
Yeah, man. I mean, as much as it is it's been a professional sport's been a big part of my life, right? But I mean, believe it or not, I mean, this about me, but, like, I work.
You do work.
I got a job.
Yeah.
Like, I have other stuff going on, and as much as I use it to, like, it's been incredible to actually inspire friends and family with what I've done, because they've seen this journey that I talked about before of, like, starting in a position, especially where I'm from, like the area that I'm from, nobody would ever think, like, hey, you're going to go play on the AVP tour, right? Like, so that's pretty inspiring to other people, and that's an incredible feeling to hold, like, and I'm most proud of that. And people, like, why do you play? It's never like, I mean, what am I playing for? I'm not making a lot of money playing volleyball. I'm not, like, what am I? It's not that real. It's not that big. I like that I get to go around and even go, like, I'll just say it. I'm a big I'm a hitman for hire a lot. like, and not in like AVPs per se, but like I'll go play charity tournaments or a tournament in a guy's hometown or this or that, and like, you know, that stuff is
well, the
not
AVPs.
free for me to go to.
No.
Like, so you gotta pay. But I like the idea of going to these things and, you know, someone being like, hey man, like you inspired me to do this or that, or like I'm from so and so and I saw you on Jason's podcast and, you know, you inspired me to move to California and chase my dream, and whether it was volleyball or you know, wrestling or whatever it may be.
I think it's worth something. Like at every level on the people that play on the tour, you're going to see people do more and more of that. Like Taylor and Taylor were doing Celebrity Side Out, right?
Yeah.
They were in Central Park. DJ Spinola, Corey, longtime friend. You're still a hater, but
tell it like it is.
Yeah, like cat calling the kettle black here, right? I mean, pot calling the kettle black here, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they were doing Celebrity Side Out. Theo and Patterson did a little bit of that. You do stuff like all over the country, and I think that's just, and that's definitely one of the subjects we're going to touch on too. But you stumbled on this something when I asked you, is this your release? And I'd like to shape my question like this, and bear with me on this, but don't get undressed. When, for me, I'll start with me. When this was my escapism, and when I'm from Brooklyn, New York, this is a place I would play on weekends, sometimes, you know, in the league at night, and no one can call me a freak, no one can judge me, no one can talk about I'm rich or poor, no one can pick on me. It's this place where I get to be myself with like-minded individuals in whom I suspect feel parrot my sentiment and share the same thing, right?
Something.
So what happens if you're any good at this, right? At some point, you're going to do something called level up, where the level's going to get higher, you're in the next level, and now all of a sudden, your escapism becomes your career.
Yeah.
So my question to you. No, you finish, because by the time you're gonna forget what I said. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna make you forget what you said.
It's a fine line to kind of like teeter a little bit, because you are playing a professional sport and you do want to do as well as you possibly can, right? And I'm ultra competitive. That doesn't mean that because volleyball is a release for me that I'm not competitive, right? Maybe I get that release from the competitive nature of beach volleyball and the professionalism of beach volleyball, and going in and getting that win and that feeling of warming up and, you know, stepping on the court and maybe exciting the fans or hearing the roar of the crowd. Maybe it's not the actual, like the touch of the ball. Maybe it's all those things combined. That is my, you know, my escapism from all the other things I do. And I enjoy, dude, one of the things I enjoy the most is on my way to a tournament, just on the plane, me and my thoughts, just gearing my mind up and getting it ready to go compete. Like, I like that feeling. I like the feeling of going on a mission.
Yeah.
You know, like
it feels like it.
Like I'm the guy in the movie. I'm the guy in the movie at that point. I love that feeling, you know?
So is there something that you do? Is there an alternative escapism that allows you to come back and do your job as a mammal, right? Now, the answer might be no. Maybe you have found a way in your genius, Jeff, to make this your career and your escapism, which is rare.
Yeah.
But I have seen such an animal, Jeff.
Yeah.
For example, for me, when commentating and coaching became a full-time thing and not a part-time thing, I chose karaoke.
Yeah.
I get to sing one or two nights.
That's actually one of mine.
Maybe 3. That allows me to come back and do this like a mammal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like a mammal, like walk on 2 legs and drink water. Right. Yours too. Yeah. Well, you can sing.
Every time we go, I mean, Aspen, when we go to Motherlode, we get some karaoke in, or when I'm here, we go and get karaoke.
What's the OBs? You rock that country music song.
Oh man, it's always country music.
Yeah.
I've learned a few more songs now, so we're good. We're not going to sing the same song anymore. But one of the other ones, I mean, I like disc golf a lot.
Okay.
I maybe not as much right now, because I'm like, you know, 39 and can't walk around in the woods with a 30-pound backpack on my back for, you know, 2-3 hours during season.
Right. Off season, have at it.
Off season. I mean,
yeah.
I know it's one of Phil's too. Me and Phil, we get out and play some disc golf every once in a while, and he kind of feels the same way I do when I'm out there, which is just like in the woods, out there with you and a couple of your buddies, and you're just, sounds weird, just throwing frisbees out there in the woods. I mean, it's kind of competitive too, but that's definitely one of my escapes. But like, I don't think anything's ever, like MJ said, there isn't anything that's ever going to make me feel like I did when I was playing volleyball or when I'm playing volleyball, like there's, maybe after I'm done, but I doubt it. I don't think there's anything that's ever going to make me feel that way. It's been, but then again, that's tough to say because I thought that I played lacrosse growing up. I played some hockey. I played some professional inline hockey. And, at that point in time, I never would have thought that, someone would have said, hey, you're going to get the same feeling or maybe even better feeling in some years ahead of you playing beach volleyball. I never would have thought that. So maybe we'll find something else that is, that excites me and gives me that same feeling. But it is tough to think that's possible.
And it's tough to think that that's possible because you found a way for it to coexist in that rare air. Right?
Yeah, and it's just afforded me so many other opportunities. The job I have right now and other things that I'm doing with coaching and my nonprofit. It's hard to think that I'm ever going to be completely and totally away from volleyball. I don't think.
No.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, in terms as a player, right?
Yeah.
As a player,
yeah.
I mean, me, I might play with Oz later this afternoon. You could certainly jump in, and I'm going to need a setter. I'm just going to tell everyone what I'm doing. I'm training for Central Park. I'm going to New York in July. I'm going to. Nothing's going on in Central Park. The AVP's going. Something called the AVP's happening at the same time, but
that's still a thing.
But
no, I'm just kidding.
It is. Isn't it cool? It's a thing in Central Park for the first time.
That's cool.
And since the Goodwill games in '98. So, no, but I like to just watch. I like to pepper with people, but at some point, everyone's going to be. They're going to challenge me to play. So I got Oz. I got you. I got people. Just set me 100 balls. Just make sure I can still hit like a mammal. I promise to just use my left. Yeah. No, but the reason why I brought up escapism versus career, Jeff, is because if you don't have it, if the sport changes you, then you change psychologically, Jeff. Like, how many people have we met, let's say 2018, 2019, where they were likable and you could see their heart and they're just this virtuous person. And then like 5 years later, you say hi and they kind of look at you like it takes them a while to remember who you are. Like, I'm not going to name players, but there were some players where I went up, I said, hey, there's some juniors I'd love for you to meet. And the guy looked at me like he never saw me before in his life.
It's tough.
And I'm not talking about me overestimating my star power. I'm talking about someone that came to me to come on the podcast, someone that, that I've coached against, and someone that was cool with me, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's two of them. These particular types of people, they might not have an escapism. And what happens is if their career is up and down, then their mentality is up and down. And I think, and I told Savvy Simo this on the podcast, I was like, the job can't save your ass, right?
Yeah.
You can't play forever.
I'm sure some people probably say that same thing about me, dude.
Yeah.
But like, ultimately, you have no clue what other people are going through. We talked about that perspective.
Yeah.
And like, even with me, like, I just got a horrible memory, dude.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I'll meet somebody that I met 2-3 years ago. I haven't seen them in a while, but if I'm not seeing their face consistently, I can recognize their Instagram because that's the same and their name is there and they've had the same profile.
Do you have conversational memory?
But I don't. I somehow can't remember. Sometimes it takes me a while to be like, and I bet I've had some. I mean, I know for a fact I've had some really awkward situations where it's like, I'm not sure I remember this person. It's actually like I don't know if I have it, but it's actually like a disease for some people. No, it's not. I'm not kidding. It's like it's not a disease, but it's like a disorder that some people have where they can't recognize certain people and stuff like that. Like, it's like, I I don't know.
I
You just can't take it personally.
I have something called conversational memory.
What
If
is that?
someone says hi to me and I have no idea who they are because I think I'm infected with the same disease you have, Jeff, I will have a conversation, and in 2 or 3 minutes, this is like, there's two things you could do, and neither choice is very appealing. You could just come up front and say, dude, I'm old and stupid and I have
That's
no
always
idea who you
tough.
are right now, right? And you're
Yeah.
not, and no one wants to do
I
that,
don't
right?
think that one ever works.
The second thing is you can have a conversation and something that they say
We'll bring it back.
is gonna,
Yeah.
it's gonna not just bring it back, like bam,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you have this
it brings it back.
the please wait thing in your
Yeah.
thing brings this
Yeah.
whole file.
Yeah, I need that.
Not just the name, the file.
Yeah.
Something else, like a Mancurian
That's
thing.
me.
Something there's yes.
Yeah.
I just made up the term conversational memory.
I thought it was a real thing. I thought there was a pill for it already.
I got one in a drawer. It's right here. I'm not gonna show it on camera, guys. Don't forget to smash that like button because it helps with the algorithm. Aaron Wexler, see you, baby. Aaron Wexler says, "What does the AVP need to do?" But that's a very broad question. And when we're done, we're in the middle of exploring escapism. You know, the reason why I brought up escapism is because you ever seen The Wire?
I watched maybe the first
Office.
like 5 episodes, 4 episodes, and I didn't stop because I didn't like it. I just got into something else a little bit more.
Well, basically, it is a detective where he cheats on his wife. He screws his superiors at every turn. But the one thing he does good is he's good police.
Oh, I know the guy.
You know,
The white
McNulty. Yeah, Dominic West.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, is a Brit. Put on like the perfect Baltimore accent. People don't know.
Yeah.
Idris Elba at that time, this is like the 90s, didn't know Idris Elba was British. The guy that played Stringer.
Yeah.
And
is his kid the kid from Snowfall?
It looks like him.
Well, I think his last name might
Elba, right? Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
I know Denzel's got a kid, John David Washington.
Yeah,
that was a Black Klansman.
He's good.
Oh my! He says, "Is there anything I hate?" It's I'm not going to say it on YouTube.
Tenet. He's from Tenet.
But he said, "I can't stand him."
All right, we're losing it.
All right, but so basically, Detective Freeman, his counterpart, said, "Look, you take down this case, you take down that case, and when it's done, what's left?" And he's like, "Well, the next case." And he's like, and after that case after case, years and years, when this is done and there's no more cases to solve, what do you have? You might have a family. You might have family with different last names. That's close friends. But he was trying to tell him, you keep doing this because it gives you this energy and this rush and this meaning, and these things you think are designed to save you, to save your life. And he said, the job can't save you.
Yeah.
The job, and I only brought up Sabby because Sabby and I had this is a few years ago. Yeah. We went like 2.5 hours, and I wasn't trying to talk to her like a little girl, like I'm an old dude, but she was just out of UCLA, and she was an example. Like, I don't know her journey. I'm not going to profess to know her journey, but she was someone it was 24/7 every day, all day since she was here.
Well, she's a smart girl. She
yes. Yeah. Well, if coaching is your escapism, you better damn well make sure you're a coach, because being a player doesn't entitle you to be a good coach. Yeah. And that makes me angry when I see that.
It makes you mad, Jay?
It does, because they're like, "Oh, I played here, so that makes me a better coach." I'm like, no, you're not. You are, because there are players that find a way to seamlessly transition because they have good communication skills, which is the occupation, right? But I'm just trying to tell people, the job can't save you, but yet here you are, where this balance of escapism and how you balance it into your career and the things you do on the side, you've managed in this ridiculously close to perfect way that shapes who you are right now. Yeah. We know each other for a long time. I was there in 2019. You had a roller you had a journey in 2019 that brings new meaning to the term roller coaster.
Yeah, that was tough.
And it's not something we got to talk about, but I want to say this. Yeah. To come back from that and be this. Yeah. You figured it out. What I mean, is there something you like to say about this? Because I'm talking more than you.
That's just part of that journey, part of that, like, from my perspective, I feel pretty damn good. You know what I'm saying? Like, from the trials and tribulations that I went through to do what I did feels good to me. It feels good to me. And that's the only person that's got to feel good too. You know what I'm saying? That's like, to meet everyone else's expectations, it's going to be really hard. And it's one of the leading causes of depression and human suffering and all that, to try
a lot
to
of unalived people here in the South
to
Bay.
try to meet the you will kill your soul
Right.
trying to meet the expectations of what you think other people have in store for you, or what they think you should be doing, or how they think you should be doing it. I can't control what anybody else thinks that I should be doing, or how life should have panned out for me according to, whoever.
It's a lot of weight to carry, isn't it?
And it's none of my business. I don't mind people talking because it's just conversation, and it's not like you hate me, But at the end of the day, like they said, you can say whatever you want, but just keep watching. You know what I'm saying? You can do whatever you watched. That's great. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being a fan of volleyball,
But saying it's none of your business was an active choice.
It's none of my business.
That's an active choice.
And I've made it my business in the past.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, you made the active choice to make it your business.
Yeah. I've made it my business in thinking about what other people think or say about me, or what I should be doing. But ultimately, this is my life. This is my world. I'm living this life. This is my character. I get to do what I want.
And it took a while to get there.
Yeah. I mean, you got to lose to win. Nobody comes in just winning. Nobody. You have to, you gotta make some mistakes. You gotta bump your head. You gotta, and that's a whole nother conversation in itself, is where people, well, I don't want to make that leap because, what if I don't make it? Most likely you're not going to make it.
Aaron Wexler, I see you. Your question is, what do the players need to do in terms of the AVP? I got that. And we got you. We got you on that. And I see Jeff's wheels turning, but you were, before we jump off this, you were talking about things from the neck up, right? And there are a lot of people in the South Bay that, I won't use the S word, but they unalive themselves, right? And it makes people, like some of the people I grew up with that didn't have the things that people in the South Bay have, like, they don't understand. It's like, you have all of this, and oh, poor baby, you're depressed, and you
compared to
you unallowed yourself. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, because the weight from the neck up, can be just as heavy for someone who has nothing.
Yeah, if you're living in a $200,000 house here, but you see everybody else has got a $3 million house here, it's gonna be pretty tough.
You just made it your business.
It's pretty tough to look at.
But I like how you said that's none of your. You could choose to say that's none of your business, right? Their house, or very interesting.
It's natural. It's human nature to want nice things and to want to grow and better yourself all the time. But we just can't compare ourselves to what somebody else has, because if you're not happy in the lane that you're already in, how are you supposed to grow and get to your next step? How are you supposed to be able to, there's always going to be more, so how do you have to appreciate what you have when you have it, right? Like, you got to appreciate the good and the bad stuff, as far as I'm concerned, to be able to move on to your next, whatever it is you might want. And like you're saying, it's the perspective that really messes people up. Like, you have to realize where you are and what you have, and your problems that you have are going to be just as hard as anybody. I know people who have lots of money who, just can't seem to be happy. They can't seem to figure that part out, because it's always wanting more and more and more. But here I am, or here somebody else is, and they're, 1-2 bedroom apartment and their dog and their girlfriend, it's like, I'm a pretty happy guy. I don't drive a super fancy car. I don't, but I managed to figure out something that makes me happy. I like playing volleyball. I like coaching. I like doing my public speaking thing with Hyundai. I like, I like going to the Motherlode every year with my family. Like, I really like that. Like,
I really love being part of that
makes me very happy. I don't necessarily need a lot.
Right.
And
it's wild. I don't either. Like, Kelly and I, we put ourselves in a very good position. And without talking about our money, I would say in that respect, I'm happy. And like in a place where people care about what you wear and what you drive, like I still drive a Civic. You know what I'm saying?
That's
I still, you know what I'm saying? I still wear, $10 shirts, right? This Yankee hat is you don't want to see what's happening on under,
Jay,
right?
I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes you leave the house and be like, hey, this guy doesn't care.
Yeah. It's true.
It's not that you look bad. It's just like he did not try, and that's cool.
Do you know it's wild in New York because of the weather, and because I was coaching, and when I was coaching NCAA, I wore suits. Like some people wear like the hoodie or look like Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
I was one of the last indoor coaches to pat Riley up. So I was always shining my shoes. I always had more trips to the dry cleaners for, my blazers and all that stuff. And here I'm flip-flops, board shorts, and a shirt that says "Life's Tough." Get a helmet.
Well, here's the difference too about a lot of that is like, I get in this. Not trying to call my girl out, but I get in this argument with her. It's not an argument, but we talk about how long she takes to get ready. Do I look good? Do I look good? Do I look good? And it's like, baby, you always look good.
Stop it. You stop the nonsense. Stop the nonsense.
And she's like, well, you leave the house and you care about how you look. And it's like, I do, but like I wear the chain because I like how I look in it. I don't care how you think I look in it.
Right.
Even though like it's nice to be seen in a nice light. Right.
Of course.
But like I put on the nice shoes because I like how I feel in it.
Nice.
I don't care how somebody else thinks I look in it, but I like how I feel in it,
Yeah. And look, you're not a monolithic person, right?
No.
Jeff wears board shorts and flip-flops, so that's what he's about. That's not true. I've seen you in a suit. I've seen you do spokesperson stuff. I've seen different versions of Jeff. I've seen Jeff in Motherlode, where it's like a volleyball and a vacation, right? Thank you, because I would have never gone to Motherlode. Corey Brindell's, kind of brokered that and made that possible.
I'm sorry,
but I'm not gonna lie. If it wasn't for you, be real. If it wasn't for you, I'm probably not gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's every year we're like, it's a little journey to get up. Unless you're flying straight into Aspen, like it's a little bit tough. But every year I go back, man, because the way I feel when I leave that place and when I get there, I just feel so at home. And the people there are
once you're one amazing. Of theirs, you're one of theirs.
Yeah, the people there are amazing. They want to see good volleyball. They, it's probably the tournament I look forward to the most every year, even though it's not, I don't get any AVP points for playing it or winning it. And
winning their hearts is one of my favorite moments in life, because it is. I don't like to use the word click because everyone has a negative inference when you use the word click, and I think click as a term gives a bad rep.
But it's less clicky out there. It's pretty nice.
No, it's a click because they're a family. They see each other every year, right? So I'm being very careful here. They're a click, but not really.
Yeah.
I roll up out of nowhere, right? And I know they're only asking me to be myself, and they decide if I'm one of them. In that first year, I emceed. I just went out there just on the mic, and that's what you told me. Don't be out there trying. You told me don't be out there trying to be good. Just be. Yeah, and that was a great piece of advice that you're like younger than me, and that's something that's advice I should be giving you, but you gave it to me, young buck.
And I mean, imagine like the Bassies, right? Those kids, like they're from over there. But that's kind of like the general attitude. Like, it's kind of like, hey, we're going to play volleyball. We got a smile on our face. We're going to joke around a little bit. And like,
And look how far that's gotten them.
Hey,
faced each other in the Pottstown Rumble Finals.
I take full credit. I take full credit. You know how the Pistons made Jordan?
Yes.
I made the Bassies.
Yes, you did. You are the Detroit guy that put them through the ringer, man.
Well, for
there's a flagrant foul in beach volleyball.
For several years, they had to see me come there and, really like, I wouldn't win in every single one, but I would play them almost every year. And it would be like, I'd play one brother and then I'd play the other one. And then like they have friends and fans. Like,
every time there's a young team, there's Jeff.
Yeah, those guys are good. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like you played the Partains, right?
That's true. Yeah.
We'll get to them in a minute. But Aaron, wow. Aaron Wexler's asked us some great questions, and I promise you, Aaron, we're going to talk about volleyball. But we stumbled onto the mental that I thought was very important. And the only reason why I brought it up is not so we can hear the sound of each other's voices, but because I'm 99% sure that there's someone out there listening to this at some level of volleyball that wants this, and this is important.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this because we're sitting here.
They're still out there
getting everything right. We're two guys talking about who got a lot of things wrong, right? And who are still here. We are two guys that preach growing the game, right? Because everyone's grow the game, right? But there's volleyball symbolism. I want to grow the game. You should grow the game. And there's volleyball activism, right? We're two guys that are doing that, right? Like I listen to Tim Hovland and Steffes, and they have a different perspective on their walk of life in their region, which happens to be more popular, and we have ours, and of course ours is better, but anyway, Aaron said, what do the players need to do? And I think he's speaking in terms of what the AVP is. Again, still broad question, and Jeff's going to answer that, but I will shorten my answer by saying, take care of the things you can control, right? Like if you're on a tour and you're not in the league, travel as much as you can, find sponsors, blah, 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 this is a genius segue into our next subject matter, Jeff. Yeah. So
one of the big
broad question, but go ahead.
Even in my little volleyball community of St. Pete, we're relatively, I mean, they've always had some volleyball around there, right? But like the community that's there now is relatively young. And we have some great players over in my area. We got, from Adam Roberts, Marty Lorenz, Tyler Pemberthy, Caleb Queckel is over there, Nate Yang.
Nate's there now?
Yeah, Nate's been there just as long as me.
Jeez.
Nate's doing great there. He's got a court in his backyard. He's coaching. He's doing a great job. Nate's always done a lot for the sport. But like the thing that like, and this is everywhere, I'm just speaking from my little perspective, is like the thing that I think that would really help volleyball out a lot is we got to stop. What are we fighting over? I don't really know, because it's not like we're making a lot of money. So it's like this little sliver of piece of the pie that we are so competitive over. And I'm not saying don't be competitive, because that's going to drive the sport into, being what we all know that it should be, right? But like to the point where like, when did we stop carpooling together and making sure that we're all okay, and making sure we're all like, taken care of, or even collaborating on different things? Or I can't practice with this guy, and like me and Chase Frishman haven't seen eye to eye in a while, but today we practiced together and
this morning, as late as this, like a couple hours ago.
Shared a smile. It's quick. Hey man, I hope you're doing all right.
Right.
I just yelled at him and he did something that I didn't like at the last tournament, but we practiced together because it was, we needed a group. They needed a group. We can put it aside. We can go practice. I think people are forgetting where we are right now and the state of beach volleyball.
It's a generational thing.
And you should be doing everything you can. Like I'm a big, like people look at me, I'm a big reactor, right? Like I've done some things on the court and in tournaments where they're like, where somebody from the outside could look at me and be like, hey man, that guy is the biggest hothead. But I'm going to ask somebody to like name a time where I just went after somebody because I didn't like them or because they did something. I'm a big reactor, and that's a fault of mine that I have, where I've reacted to some situations where, I haven't really been like, it's been out of character, right? But at the same time, I've always been a person who like, I want to see other people do well. And if there was a question that someone asked me about, you can sit and talk to me about what you could get better at, or things that you want to know, if it's ins and outs of training or this or that. Like I'm more than willing to respond and help people out. And I think that's kind of lost, because it's everyone's, at the same time, the sport's become like professional sport, but at the same time it's like less money, less opportunity, less grassroots. Like it's like not, it's growing in the aspect of the players are getting better at volleyball, but volleyball isn't growing itself as a whole. Does that make sense? Like we're we're not becoming more mainstream. We are not making more money. We are not getting more sponsorships. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like the players, we are
Right.
jump setting. We are
some of the best. Yeah.
The game itself and the attributes and the skill has definitely grown. I think it's the other part that really needs to grow a lot more.
Well, speaking in terms of your wheelhouse, we'll just say men's beach, right?
Yeah.
Some of the best volleyball I've seen since 2016. Like you said, fast release, jump sets, play running, great nutrition, great athleticism, a get after it volleyball. Remember, I was talking about that before the podcast. Like, I don't want to see people stop on a line over. I'm 54. I could do that. I don't want to see people do things. I'm not going to pay money to watch people do things that I could do, that I can do. I need to be wowed. And this generation of kids, from the neck down,
but overall,
it's doing really, really good. But the attitude
has to change.
Yeah, well, I think you stumbled onto something with it at the same time. Trying not to heavily criticize the AVP and like what volleyball is. I thought you did a genius job, because what happens is, if there's not the sponsorship and if there's not tour tournament opportunities, it does create a Hunger Games.
It does, and that's the issue
among the masses. That creates I don't like to use the word gladiator, but gladiator pits.
It's
where it's survivor. Yeah,
survivor.
Right.
That's what it is. We're making these alliances, and I forgot how you expel people off the island or whatever it is.
Yeah,
but that's what's happening.
They get voted off.
You voted off, basically.
Which is crazy, because that's not meritocracy.
That's basically what's happening these days, and it's not that like. I'm pretty accepted, right? And I can still say that, like, how could somebody want to come in and be like, hey, like, I'm young and I'm new and I want to, where does he go? What does he do? How does he even look at it and say that there's a way that he's going to be accepted when you really only play volleyball in one neighborhood? There's only volleyball in one neighborhood in the United States, and I'm sitting in it right now.
But that's always been my problem with the previous two generations, not your generation. When you mention yourself, you mentioned Adam Roberts. There is a generational thing where empathy, sympathy, and forgiveness is a huge thing, right? At some point, Adam Roberts and Marty Lawrence fought. They were partners for a long time.
They're back,
and they're back now. But I'm saying, the reason why they're able to be back is because their mentality puts themselves in a position that no matter what happens, you can come back from it. Where there's a cancel generation, happening right now, where it's just like, that guy's like you said, that guy's at that practice. Nope, not interested. I'm not going. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you? There are players that I've trained that I actually said, look, I'll actually pay the first $2,000 out of my own pocket. Go to this tournament, play with this guy. Yeah. And they wouldn't play with that guy. And as a coach, on some level, I'm like, what? I'm Pontius Pilate right now. I'm letting everybody see me wash my hands of this thing, and then continue to do what I do best. That's commentate, that's podcast, whatever. But there's a dynamic shift in empathy, a lowering of the bar in empathy and forgiveness and understanding.
I've been guilty of it. What I'm talking about right now.
Yeah,
like, but I've been like, hey, I don't want to go because this person's going, and by all means protect your energy and protect your well-being and protect yourself, protect your mental health, all that stuff. If obviously you can't put yourself in a situation that you're, geared to fail.
Right.
But at the same time, like, when did especially men start letting words affect them so much to the point where they're willing to sacrifice their progression or sacrifice, the sport? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, no matter how, if Chase and I are getting an argument, at the end of the day, I want the best for him.
100%. He could be here right now in this podcast. I mean, that's how cool Chase is too. Chase 2024 wasn't a good year for him, similar to your 2019. Without getting into whatever based on what I know or do not know, I can safely conclude he was up against it from the neck up.
Which a lot of us
he was up
at some point in time.
But there are levels to it, Jeff. Like there was something going on, and I just let him know. I'm like, look, I ain't pretending to be your best friend, but
Yeah.
And I'm not a doctor, but I recognize the symptoms. And if you need to talk, that's what I do. That's where I could help.
Yeah.
You know, like Chase could literally be here right now in this podcast.
And ultimately, we know that like our community, to be honest with you, like I played lacrosse in college, and nothing against the lacrosse community. They're just or the hockey community. They're just a different breed of people. Okay, and
right.
the community is not the same as the volleyball community. You can hit up somebody and say, hey, I'm going to Dallas and I need a place to stay, and that guy's gonna reach out to another guy and be like, this guy needs a place to stay, but you've never met the guy that you're gonna go stay at his place, right?
Yep.
What other community do people open up their homes
positive
to you and don't know you, but still have a pretty good trust that like nothing's going to happen to their family or you're not going to steal anything out of their house?
Right. That's a great positive. That's a great positive.
Like this community is so good. I think that it deserves a lot better.
Yeah. And again, there is a trickle down effect. And you and I had a conversation about the league and this and that. And some people said the league is like the final nail in the coffin for the AVP. But my contention is,
well,
what if the league never existed? What if they continue with this tour?
Well,
it's all they're doing is how fast do you want to bleed your chips, right? For me, we won't get into the league too much. I believe in taking chances, but I will conclude by saying they're calculated risks. They have to be thought out, and you need a real plan.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to see things change, you know, and it's even harder to be like, yo, what they've changed and what I've been so used to for so long is a good thing for volleyball. But ultimately, what we were doing already was not really working for so long. Right. We have been doing it for so long. The model that we have for so long had not been working. OK, would I be doing it differently? Everybody's got their own opinion on how it should be done. Right.
But you're speaking in terms of Jeff as the individual. Right. We're the only one that faces the consequences of your whatever are you.
Yeah.
Where exactly. Them and is it the people who face the consequences are the many.
Yeah. And is it my millions of dollars that I'm putting in to see if something is going to fail or succeed? I've always said this. It's like once you start putting in your life savings or whatever it is, or however much money you have into the AVP to see if you probably should just be grateful that you got some volleyball to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, it does kind of suck that like it hasn't worked out yet, you know,
right.
But I mean, I think, what sports really have other than the big, they're the same.
Well, for me, keeping the glass half full. Let's say they're hell bent on a league, you know, and this is what we're doing. We have an idea. 3 things I'd like to fix is no more games to 15, 2 to 21, 1 to 15. Right?
Me as well. Yeah.
2, expand the league to 12 cities because I think 24 men and 24 players per gender is exactly what the AVP players deserve.
I think it should be like college.
Yeah. Well, I think the guys have a little bit more. For the men, they have a little bit more cowboying up to do before I even. Oh, you mean the pairing system?
Yes.
Yo, that's nice.
Because how do you have a feeder system? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How do you even keep? Let's just say it was me coming in the game when I was 23 years old. How do you keep a guy who's like, oh, we think he's going to be really good? Like, how do you keep him in there if he has no opportunity? But there's 3 tournaments every year. You know, like, how do you, I understand at the trial run, maybe it's going to be, growing in the future. But
I think they should put money in both. Like even the NBA, right?
Well,
you have so many talented basketball players.
Not like not blowing all, we were blowing like probably $4 or $5 million a year, maybe more. I don't know the real, but like if you're.
But this is significantly cheaper.
If you're looking at 200,000, this is cheaper than renting the beach.
Right.
Right. I would assume it's cheaper than renting.
Yeah, but for me, again, keeping glass half full. The opportunity for cities to franchise their players, maybe, and have a draft or whatever, is the goal where it alleviates some of the financial burden that the AVP has to provide.
But I don't think that teams franchise or cities franchise teams unless they have some sort of horse in the race. Like
the draft. How about a draft?
Yeah, exactly. I know for sure, at least in Austin and Dallas, on there in Texas, those people are so proud of people from their area. They created their own league.
Yep.
Out
ATX
there,
is
right?
Isn't yo, give it up. Isn't ATX? Yo, Jalen Porras, LJ Luciano. Okay, that's the original pioneer. I'm gonna say LJ as a standalone because he deserves it.
Sharp vision. My guy Corey. These guys will pour thousands of dollars a year into their people, and it's just been an aspect of the game for so long where you want your teams from your city to qualify for AVPs, right? So having your local pros, or maybe a little bit better than local pros, who have a chance to qualify for AVPs, having those guys have an opportunity on some sort of level, even if they're alternates or something, or being on the team. I think that's always been the people always have poured out to come watch qualifiers to see, or watch the first round of the main draw to see if your local guy can beat the top.
How about this? I'll be as brave as to say, in my own chauvinistic conceit, that nobody appreciates the value of airing qualifiers more than me. Right, I built my brand. NY Varsity Sports brand was built off of taping an average of 12. How do I even do it? 12 qualifiers for 2 tournaments, like 6 apiece, right? And Huntington, I got 1,100 live views. Caleb Quaco, like at the Cupcakes team, they played Hartaler and Perez. That finished at 2,500, which is not a big number.
To 3, right?
Yeah, but it's not a big number, right? But two things: one, 1,100 live views, so more than 50% watch it in real time. 2, I had 400 new subscribers after that.
Yeah.
A qualifier.
Diego's got a good following. He's such a good kid with good heart. Like
both of them. So Cupcakes and Jesus Rules.
And
what
Cupcakes,
in a qualifier match?
Yeah.
Something you said that if the main draw, like if they're not in the main draw, no one would even know it if it wasn't for people who care about the sport. And there are many. To forget myself, Aaron Wexler, who's lighting up the comment section right now, cares deeply about the sport.
What did he say about?
Well, he said volleyball is great, but it's not enough. We need player engagement and a clear ladder. I'm a Jeff fan, and I want to watch him compete on the big stage. I vote for King of the Beach style. I have something to say that's not related to that, but I wanted you to talk about what he just said.
What, King of the Beach style, or just?
He says, last sentence, I'm a Jeff fan and I want to watch him compete on the big stage. I vote for King of the Beach style.
That's the thing, is like, you got to have people want to see, they have more than just 8 teams of people that they want to see.
But that, do you see where I was getting at?
Yeah.
Not the 18s, but 12.
I mean, even if that's the case, think about it. Like, I'm not in the top 12 teams.
Well,
and it's not that it's about me. I'm not saying it is about me, but like, there are so many fans out there that want to see someone like me. You know what I'm saying?
Florida would draft you.
Right. But like,
Florida would draft you and Phil.
Diego's not in the top 12 teams, or even maybe Gage's, or maybe he's not. Let's just say he wasn't, right? Let's say the Bases were not, right? But think about how many fans in Colorado are just like, I ain't watching my guys. They're not in there. Nah, whatever. I'm not watching.
Well,
you got a whole state.
For the people that can't make the league, there's something called a tour.
They're where?
Manhattan Beach is still happening.
Okay.
Huntington Beach is still happening. Virginia Beach, you're going this weekend.
Just a qualifier, single elimination. So I wouldn't. That was a qualifier.
That was stupid.
Yeah, that was a qualifier.
I don't like to use the word stupid, but like the qualifiers. Since we're talking about it, and since I'm keeping glass half full, have the 3 qualifiers separate from the Heritage Series, because the whole notion that in order for you to make the league, you would have to at least beat Miles Partain on one side or Miles Evans on the other. I mean, just to get a spot was a mistake on their part, a huge mistake on their part. I don't think that was willfully ignorant.
Yeah, I don't think the league is a horrible idea. I think the getting rid of Heritage Series events is a tough pill to swallow, because you don't have there is no grassroots other than that.
Right.
Like, I know we have AVP Next that are around.
Yeah.
But that's not getting you ready to get into the league, there's got to be something in between that. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
I
And
agree.
I don't think the league is like a horrible idea. I think I like
King of the Beach.
I
Yeah.
think I like the setup. You know,
I like King of the Beach. I like.
I don't mind King of the Beach.
That
That's
would
fine.
be great.
That's
But
fine.
but I wanted to finish my thought.
So here's my
no, you go.
But here's
You're
my
the guest.
here is my alley-oop to the AVP. Okay, since we talked about disc golf, what they need to do is look up, and if you're at home and you have a computer or something, you can look up this company called Jomez Pro. They changed the sport of disc golf. Okay, what these guys did is they started out with basically a streaming service that airs after the actual live event. So it would be like if me and you started a stream that happens the day after the actual live event. AVP still does their thing live. They still have, their commentators. They still have all their guys on there doing their same thing they always do. But basically, they made a more elaborate production that actually had insights into player backgrounds. They had sweet drone shots. They had everything set up in a way where the production was more in depth, and they actually did a contract with what would be the AVP for disc golf to where they could air this stuff after. From there, they started a whole conglomerate of things where they sold merchandise, they sold frisbees, they sold all sorts of stuff, and they created a huge following of people who weren't able to necessarily watch the show live but wanted a really good production. And disc golf went from making 50,000 at the top to the top guys making 200, 300,000. My buddy Paul Macbeth signed a $1 million a year, $5 million deal for disc golf to throw frisbees.
Right.
They changed the sport because they were able to do installations, pop-up installations of putting contests and this and that. The AVP has to do something more than just the league. They need to be able to introduce new faces, fresh faces, and get a little bit more in depth in player lifestyles and what they're doing and how they're traveling and all these different things. They need to have little pop-up I don't know, contests or little pop-up 4-man, even if it's not like they put $50,000 into a pot, but it's like, hey, we're going to pay, a group of guys to go do, a installation, some sort of pop-up contest or something in New York City the week before they do the New York event. Okay. And they're getting out there on the court in what is the big park?
Central Park.
And they are playing side out with the players.
Yeah.
And
that's what the McKibbins did in like 2019.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. So whether or not the AVP does that or another company comes in and does that, those are the types of things that are going to make the fans be really connected.
Aaron's feeling you right now. Yes.
Be really connected with the players.
I love Aaron says yes. We are a content driven marketplace.
Yeah.
Aaron also creates community too. Aaron says yes.
They're kind of doing that.
Yeah.
They're kind of doing that right now. The McKibbins have come in, and I commend them. I think they've done a really good job with the content. We had really been lacking in the content area, and I think they're doing a really good job.
They were lacking in the timing of the production of their content because
it's hard.
In the beginning they made a decision of high quality, take your time, but you know what happens? Guys like that guy Eric Cam, who's a freaking one-man team. My podcast going. I know Eric
pretty well. Yeah,
I think it's put a little pressure on the McKibbins to say, "Hey, we got to do this, but we got to do it faster." And you know what? The last 2 years, Madison McKibbin, who by the way was my first interview on my pod. I was doing the Tuesday after, and I was just doing interviews. He was Betsy and the McCullochs were my
and let me tell you, Jomez Pro Productions is what the pros for production.
Yeah.
They're actually players who go and play the tour. They're at around my level, right? They're not like at the bottom, and they're not at the tippy top. They're somewhere around at my level,
but they played, and they have a good lens.
They play, and then they actually do. I believe they probably have like some sort of a van or something like where they got the backdrop in the back, and they sit and they commentate the entire day's lineup
Nice.
after they play. So those guys are already there anyways, but they're players who basically started this. I think it would be.
I think being a player is a huge leg up.
Oh, yeah.
But we need to make sure they have a good lens, because photography and playing are two different occupations.
Well, they have to start
commentate-
somewhere.
okay.
You
But
know?
like, and the gift
now
of gab,
they do.
right?
Now they do. Oh, they're really good.
I know.
They're really good.
I've
I don't
seen
know
them.
if you can pull this up. Or
What's it
whatnot,
called again?
but, like, it's called Jomez Pro.
How do you spell Jomez?
I think it's JO, and then it's space MEZ.
I'm asking you to spell Jomez. Jomez Pro.
Yeah.
All right, let's figure it out. All right, nothing's.
And obviously, I'm a disc golf geek, right? So I really like this. But what they did is they basically changed an entire sport in my eyes. I mean,
nice.
Maybe the sport was already growing a little bit, but the access that people had to it, to the sport now.
Jomez Pro, the leader of disc golf. We're gonna plug this in a minute. So go ahead.
Yeah. And so basically they started this brand basically by taking donations, right? They started what's called like a founders club, where you get exclusive access to, I can't believe I'm giving up this gym right now because I've wanted to do this for so long. So if anybody wants to start this with me, hit me up. But they started this founders club basically where people were donating to have Patreon access to all this exclusive media interviews. You could watch, the coverage and all that stuff, but the actual production of what the disc golf, tournament is actually free for people to watch. But all the extra stuff you pay in different tier levels for like what you're getting, and they send you a couple frisbees every year in the mail or something like that. But
I'm actually gonna look it up on this, since my iPad.
There you go. That's probably it. That's all you need to do.
Jomez Pro. Let's do that. Let's move this over. But I wanted to finish my thought about the league.
So you'd want to probably look at them on YouTube.
Okay. I just want to show them what the picture looks like, though. Let's go on camera 1. So that's Jomez Pro. Let's go scroll down a little bit. Oh my God, look at that.
And they hold different little contests all over at different events that they have in and out of season that people really follow. They'll do skins events. Like if you follow regular golf, skins is so
it's a real thing.
But, they do co-ed stuff.
But finishing my thoughts about the league, because I just want to jump off of that because we stumbled on the marketing and promotion. 12 teams per gender, right? 12 cities. Make sure there's some kind of heritage series, but like the ATX, like the pairing system is really, really good. Like maybe have that as an exhibition before the actual match, right? But I do like, the reason why I brought it up is because if you look at the UFC, right, Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, they did their marketing promotion around two people, and their rising tide lifts all ships. And that's what I think the league is supposed to do. And this is why I think people need to be really careful of suggesting that I'm saying the league should replace the tour. No, I think if the league does well, that's more money for the tour, and it takes care of it, and everything takes care of itself, because it comes in 3 levels: marketing and promotion, right? Butts and seats, and then the product better be dope. When you finally get people to say, fine, I'm here, what do you got? I want to see. This is why you always hear me say, "Get after it, volleyball." And the women have kept their promises for quite some time. The men kept their promises the last 2 years. So the reason why I like the league is because it's an idea. Now, strategically, I disagree with the 15-point games. I disagree that you should only have 8 cities.
Yeah.
And lastly, like you said, for the cities to invest in it, they have to have skin in the game. Like if New Orleans has a team, who are they drafting for the men and women? Say it with me.
Well, Evan Corey.
Right. And whoever he plays with, they don't even care if they don't even care if Evan Corey plays with actor Jeremy Piven, right? Yeah. And and that team might even win.
And then you have the Brasher and Clove.
Right. Texas, who would they choose?
Savvy from there?
Savvy's a UC, California guy. No, but LSU's got Rodriguez. They got DeBerg. DeBerg. I mean, Kylie, not DeBerg, but there's another one. But man, there was one year where they were like four pairs deep. Yeah. Texas, who would you choose for men?
For men?
You
right now?
Yeah, besides. Like if Texas could draft a team, who would they choose?
Dylan Cox.
Roshitz and Cano, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah,
you?
but they don't live there anymore. But yeah, I guess. Yeah, they would be the guys.
If Michigan had a team, it would be you and Doc Vandermeer
I mean, if it goes by where you're from or where you live, then maybe I'd be Michigan.
But there's some people that could be drafted everywhere. Like the Taylors could be drafted. You know, the Taylors love New York. New York loves Troy Field. New York loves the heck out of Troy Field. And again,
but I don't.
The rising tide lifts ships.
But I don't mean that like because I'm from Michigan, I would have to be on the Michigan team.
No,
you just need somebody from Texas in there somewhere, right?
Training because there. Like being there, training there.
Well, no, because the opportunity is there.
Right.
He could even be on the Miami team. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. The Texas people want to see Pete Cano and Roshitz in there, right? Whether they are Texas or not, to them that's still a win because
that's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it's a Dallas team or not, it's guys from Dallas. Agreed. So it's a win. Or guys from
But like New York would choose Troy Field or the Taylors, right? And neither of those people were there. But spend a season there, train there. Yeah. The city will be invested in you. Like, look, dude, for color commentary, the secret of my success, New Orleans and Atlantic City and all these places, I always came the Monday before. There are some commentators because they're rock stars, they get to fly in, they talk, and then they leave. And for them, I say good for them, right?
Yeah.
But the only place that never worked for me was the Pottstown Rumble, and that was a setup, honestly.
A story for another.
No, but that was a coordinated setup by like a handful of people. But Motherlode, right? I'm there for the Masters. Denver, when you and Frishman did, oh God, what a fantastic, one of the best matches of the year, right? That's something I should do a video, right? It's 10-10. You're going against Jordan Hopp and Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's 10-10, and this dude rolls off 4 aces.
Jump serves at that in
Dallas.
Actually, Denver.
We owe it to our comment section because they're so create incentives for everyone, sponsors, athletes, fans, and the AVP owners. It can be done. More collaboration, less competition. And when he says less competition, we're assuming he means against each other.
Against each other.
Don't.
Correct.
But Aaron, this is something where I'd love for the brass to see, because the only reason why there's competition against each other is because
there's no opportunity.
There was a Hunger Games thing set up, and I do appreciate that, because it does weed out some of the people who are semi-serious about.
But it weeds out the people that you don't want to be weeded out. You understand what I'm saying? Like if you're let's just, I don't know if this is a thing or not, but like let's just say you're Theo. And Theo probably has, I don't know, 5-6 good years where he's going to go and play and be fine. Theo's not in the league. Why would Theo keep playing volleyball?
That's a great example. And how about Evan Corey?
And why would you, why, as a fan, you're like, well, I really like Theo. Like, why would I continue?
Do you see the genius of 12 cities, though? Because you and I, off camera, named 4 teams that will put butts in seats.
Yeah.
Right, that are not just good players. Like Theo has a great following on the East Coast. Like let's say Troy Field and Theo made the league, right? They're going to represent Brooklyn or even the Nitro.
It almost doesn't matter who they represent.
No, it does. Well, yeah, because there's some people that are just bi-coastal like that, like Troy Field is, right?
Bases are like that.
Yeah,
I actually spoke about them being.
Well, they
Colorado.
were regional.
They got a whole state.
They were regional.
Everywhere I go, and they're there, people want to see them play.
Yeah,
I've been told, oh, you're one of the most exciting players to watch. I've always taken that the wrong way. But I mean, people want to see that at some level or whatever level it is. Like people want to see that.
I've always called them the poor man's Partain when they were coming up.
Well,
if you look at like their body type, and the fast release set, the jump setting, and the options and hitting on 2. Excuse me. Oof. There were a lot of. No, right? I hope that doesn't kill you over there. No, but they were doing a lot of those things before many people knew who they were. And I'm only saying this because you can hold witness to that, because you were playing against them and maybe a couple of times with them in the early stages of their now blowing up career, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to plug in Pottstown Rumble right now, because the Pottstown Rumble people, we had Basie versus Basie in the finals So Lars is the older brother, right?
Yeah.
And Gage is the younger brother. And these
Yes.
two people wound up playing each other in
Yeah.
the finals.
The interesting story, they were supposed to play with each other.
Yeah, tell them the story while I'm looking this up.
From what I understand, Gage, Lars, supposed to play with each other at Pottstown, but Gage and his USA Beach partner, Thomas Turst, were late for their flights, or a flight got canceled or whatever it was and didn't make it. So basically, they essentially switched partners. Gage played with Lars's partner, and Lars played with Gage's partner, or vice versa, or whatever happened, and basically ended up making it to the finals anyways, even though they were supposed to play together, which is pretty gnarly because that's a pretty tough.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
I don't know why this thing is chopping on me. This thing is, my iPad is trash right now, dude. So this is brother versus brother. This is nighttime because the Pottstown Rumble has night lights, and their men's open is 2 days. And I don't know why this looks like karate because it looks chopped. Okay, there it is. We cleared it up. But it's a 2-day tournament for everybody. For everyone that's never seen Pottstown while we're watching, and we could get a little sound, I guess. It's a 2-day tournament for men's open. Guys, it's side out. So meaning you have to be the serving team to score.
1 to 15.
It's big court, not rally. And Jeff, say that again.
Or 1 to 15.
1 game to 15.
And it is hot as balls.
Yeah.
It's always pretty hot and humid there.
This is basically 81 in the shade. This is a night game. Their high on Sunday was the high was 98 degrees.
Yeah. It's like 90s. Yeah, it's pretty hot.
And Aaron,
they always have a really good crowd.
Look at this. So,
and this is what I'm talking about. Like, this could easily be a AVP insulate, not the Pottstown Rumble itself.
No, but the base is their main draw anyway.
Something like it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Not that I want the AVP to go take over these, tournaments like the Motherlode or Pottstown, even though they could, in a way. But like, having something like that,
right?
Also another big shout out to somebody I think who did something really well is City vs City.
That was great.
That was sick.
Wasn't that ATX though? That pioneered that idea though?
Nah, that is Randy Mader, and Steven. Oh my God, I met him. I can't remember his last name.
Arizona guy. Yeah.
And they did a wonderful job. The competition was there as far as the.
You're talking about doubles, right? The City versus City.
No, this was 4-on-4. It's a what?
No, go ahead.
It was sick. It was one of the best tournaments I've been to all year.
It was a product that was dope that had no marketing or promotion and no butts and seats. So I give them a D minus on that.
Well, I mean, if you would have put all the same people and in a venue the size of the Pottstown Rumble, it would have looked like a lot more people. But it was in a stadium that was a little bit too big for the amount of people that they had. Okay. But they had people.
Were you in that? Yeah. Did you play in that? Who'd you play with?
I played in it. I played with my St. Pete guys.
Cool.
Marty Lorenz, Marcus Kopke, Jake McNeil.
Nice.
And myself. Yeah.
That's a good team. Holy sugar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but trust me, if I'm telling you that an event was ran well, they got a good thing going on, like it was the production of it. I don't know if did you watch any of it?
I watched it, and I had people call me and talk to me off the record about how they felt about it. Driving, was it worth the drive? Was it entertaining? Was it sustainable? And I guess I could talk more on it later, but for me to suggest that only the lived experience takes precedence here is not a genuine thing either.
Yeah, well, it was pretty well ran. I think they got a good.
Okay.
And mind you, who's done a first tournament ever, like their brand's first event? That looked like that, and that had the caliber of players. And that had the amount of prize money.
Right.
That did.
That was look. I ain't hating anyone that decides they have an idea. Yeah. And they put their testicular fortitude on Front Street like that.
Yeah.
Knowing that it could succeed or it could go the other way. and they're
and it was
always gonna have
sponsorships.
my respect.
And they had
I'm
major
just,
sponsorships.
but you just made
Yeah.
this leap completely the other way, and I just
Yeah.
wasn't prepared to go there. But it doesn't mean that because I don't completely co-sign with you 100%, doesn't mean I'm going the other way.
Do I think
where like the haterade is served
do I
in vanilla?
think it's the AVP? It's a completely different sports, 4-on-4, right? But but at the same time, like you said, whatever, all rising tide raises all ships, right? Like it's good for volleyball.
It takes balls,
and it's good for volleyball.
It took balls and by your testament, some brain power, to allow that to happen.
I mean, you get Phil and the Taylors and Trevor on a team, and you get the Lotmans out there, and you get, you're getting all these guys who are monsters. You're getting teams from, I don't know how many teams they had, but it was men's and women's, and good teams. And if you did decent, you walked away with a good amount of money.
Good.
And that's what we need to be able to survive. And we need it on top of the AVP.
Why was someone like me the last to know? Why was someone like me not watching it live? Why was someone like me watching it when it was over, on this particular angle that created an unsavory image of what the lived experience differs from?
Because it's the first event.
Got you.
It's not like it's something that's been there for a while. It's the first event. Hey, we're getting our feet wet. This is what we got. But for a first event, I ain't seen nobody do it any better than that for a first event. I'm sorry.
No, that's
nobody.
Yeah. Hey, that's the lived experience versus me sitting here from whatever. But
I mean, quiet as it's kept, I hit him up. I was like, hey man, I don't know. I don't really got a place to stay out there. They said, all right, here's a confirmation number. There you go.
Guess what? The automatic line.
Nobody did that.
You heard though?
In my I don't know how many
years. But you heard though? I'm on that team then.
Yeah. Nobody did that. And so I'm like,
no, because they
have it together.
I think you might be misunderstanding me. The idea is incomparable because you manage to get a whole bunch of rock stars. In fact, the best people that represent the best of what beach volleyball has to offer, which isn't necessarily the best fours team. Those are doubles teams making fours teams. And if you notice, the teams there at the end are the ones that actually have good middles and oppos. So I'm sure David Lee went pretty far.
He played in the finals.
Yeah, with, like the teams
with Lottie and
but you know what I'm saying? Like the indoor guys are the ones.
Will Price.
Will Price. But my point is the indoor guys are the ones that prosper better at 4s and 6s than the beach guys.
Depending,
because you need.
you get some deep sand and some wind. It's gonna be a little bit different.
Sure, but you got a guy setting that's not a real setter. He's got hands, right? You got guys running 2s in the middle, predictable plays, versus teams that are more dynamic that know how to pick up 4. And again, I'm just my.
do you think that if you get this Nikolai kid, you get him out there? I think as they continue to do this. If not in his first round, but he could be
right. Yeah. No, but Jeff, what I'm saying is as they continue to do this, I think with the super athletes, the plays are going to be more dynamic. The plays are going to be more entertaining. Not just set Corey a high ball against a double block. Ooh, he hit the ball. No, I'm talking if you're going to play 4s.
Yeah.
If you're going to play 4s. Yeah. It's got to offer something that the indoor players can't do and that the beach players can. You understand what I'm saying?
In deep sand and wind.
Yes. Yeah, if it's me, fine. Okay, that's my crutch. These are elite athletes. I don't accept that excuse nonsense. These are the are they pros or not? Right? Ask me to do that. Okay, I fail. Even though as a setter, I probably would have done just as good as everybody else.
I don't think the indoor guys can come out unless they have beach experience.
Like middles. Like if you get good middles. And you have a 2-passer system. That guy's running front ones, back one, instead of my balls against your balls. Who's the better, whatever. I'm talking 4s can be strategic and not just be this one-dimensional thing.
Yeah.
I
think indoor guys would have came.
Yeah. They would have got worked because of that deep sand.
They would have got worked. 100%.
But you know what? You now have a new talent pool and their fans that followed them, Jeff.
Yeah. Well. Sorry. That would be
way too.
Sounds nice, but do you think these guys every year? If you look at Pottstown,
right,
which those guys got $10,000 for first place, right?
Yeah.
There's some indoor guys that live in the States that should be able to go play that and win it.
And it's mostly won by indoor players.
No, it ain't.
Who was last year's winner?
Cody Caldwell and Jake Uridia.
No, it was
Dentler and
Dentler or whatever.
Dentler, who did he play with?
Dentler played with Quaco,
but not indoor.
But
every year I've gone since I've been playing, it's beach volleyball players.
Andre Beloff, right?
He's a beach volleyball player.
Andre Beloff played 2 seasons in the beach and 6 years professionally overseas.
He might have played 6 years professionally overseas, but ever since I've known him, since I played in VL days, he was playing beach. He went around. He's playing beach with Danny Camacho for several years, and he was playing. I mean, when he started playing in VLs, he was a beach volleyball player to me because that's what he did. He was
right.
He was a good beach volleyball player. He might have played indoor before that, and I think he also played beach over there too. I don't know if he was like at a high level.
But you're talking about guys that have the muscle memory of the indoor approach, the flat surface. Jake Uritia played Division I at Rutgers.
But we're talking,
Dentler
about
played at George
guys.
Mason University, right? You're not talking about beach guys that don't play grass that think they're just going to go there and boss it. But that doesn't work like that.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's where you're wrong.
No, I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like. What I'm saying is that indoor guys that are currently playing indoor are not about to come to a beach volleyball tournament and play good.
Oh, no way.
That's what I'm saying.
No way. You're right. And you're right. And I misunderstood you.
But having an indoor background as a new beach volleyball player or semi, relevant in the beach volleyball world definitely helps you.
100%.
If you're Taylor Sander and you have multiple years of experience playing indoor, and now you play beach volleyball and you come and play a fours tournament, that is the ultimate right there. You're not going to get, I don't think you're going to get better than that.
Let's talk about Taylor Sander.
But Nikolai's not going to come to the beach volleyball fours tournament at Solstice at 21st and be good.
No, because he doesn't have the muscle memory of and the experience points of playing beach. Yeah. Let's talk about Taylor Sander. Has Taylor Sander played more indoor the last couple of years or more beach? The answer is he's played more indoor, right?
In the last couple of years?
The last 2 years. I'm talking about total reps, total matches, 100% played more indoor than beach. Probably.
I don't know.
I mean, you're talking a season where you're playing sixes. It's 3 out of 5 sets, right? So quantitatively, probably play just as much. On my worst day, I will say just as much.
Yeah.
On my best day, I would say more. And that's where I think that where you and I are celebrating, because it doesn't sound like we're celebrating that on the podcast. We're celebrating that force thing. And I always had this vision of what it can become more. I saw Jeff, I watched it. I delayed watched it, but I saw it. Mm-hmm. I saw it. I'm a big Dave Lee fan, and I always like to see middles like Greg Faulkner, Smackfest. He's always in the finals, winning or losing because of what he brings indoor that translates to beach, like blocking. Correct. Like Jeff, you would have been a murderous opposite if you played indoor. Your body at this point, your joints would have come apart like wax because of the landing of the hard surface. So you have better sustainability. T-Mac was at the Hamptons. He should have been interviewed on this site. Who the hell's? Oh, Tracy McGrady was in the Hamptons. Still time to hit him up for his thoughts. Yep.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we're getting an increasing amount of them, Jeff. We had Vince Vaughn, show up in Manhattan Beach, right? Yeah. Celebrity sightings were good for the UFC, right? Mm-hmm. You got some wrestlers like seeing the Undertaker, like watch fights. And I mean, that cool, the indoor thing in Phoenix, Henry Cejudo came through for the AVP. Remember the first inaugural indoor one that Taylor and Taylor are like, this is indoor, no wind. This is like it's like shooting fish in a barrel, boys. Aaron asked a very important question, and we've been going on for a minute, but this is important. This is one of our topics. Jeff is marketable. Ask him what it takes to be and stay marketable. Do you remember that off camera? I was like, this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. Aaron's a genius.
Yeah. Well, I started when I started playing volleyball. I started actually, working on that. And I think a lot of the players don't think that it is part of their job.
Yep.
And they don't see it as being very, very important. And I had a guy who maybe had taken better finishes than I had in history, but not nearly probably made as much money as I have, right? Because I've basically been after sponsorships and making sponsorship decks and getting, I mean, my first big sponsor was Isopure, and they weren't as big at the time, but by year 5 with them, they were in Target and in Walmart and they're all over the place. And I grew with them. But I mean, I did one little campaign with them, and then next thing you know, I was with them for 5 years. It's Sharp Vision. I've been with them for I don't know how many years. There are other people in their lineup are Jeannie Urango and K-Spear, and who else in history have they had? People who have arguably done, not even arguably, they've done better than I have throughout history, but somehow here I am, right? It is just, I think it's part of your job if you're a professional athlete to not leave money on the table. And once you start doing it, you're going to continue to get better at it. And other companies are going to see that you're marketable, right? So like now I can hit up other companies and be like, hey, this is what I have on my resume as an influencer or as, a sponsored athlete. And then they could look at somebody else who, I've taken third in the AVP Manhattan and this and that, but you have 3,000 followers on Instagram and you're not very marketable and you're not media trained at all whatsoever because you just have simply not put yourself in that position, right? So not only is it going to help you, it's going to help our sport. And ultimately you're gonna be able to get other opportunities. I got my job working with Hyundai ultimately through my personality from beach volleyball, right? So and that's something that I mean I'm gonna be able to take with me everywhere I go now, right? So
yeah, that certainly works.
Yeah.
And Jeff, you presented a really broad point because for the people that are really unable and don't know how to do it, those are the people I think they need to invest money and hire the ones who can, right? Yeah. There are some people who are like human promotion machines. I think Sean Cook has been fantastic.
Oh, he's great. Yeah. There's regardless if you like his game or not.
Yeah, I love his game. I just can't stand that dude sometimes. Well, but it doesn't affect my critical thinking skills. It's very easy to be a fan of what he's doing on the court. Yeah. And the way he's marketing and promoting himself off the court.
Yeah, a lot of times I'm like, why are you hollering? Yeah. But then I'm looking at some of his videos that he makes, and I'm like, dude, that was sick.
But it really shows I'm not as much sick. Yeah, but it really shows I'm not as much of a hater as I think I am. I'm watching it. Like you said, right? As long as you're watching it, dude, I'm watching it. Sean, I mean, it's popping up on the algorithm seems to think I want to watch it. And every time I see it in front of my face, I do watch it. Yeah. And again, for the people that don't know how, because trust me, this thing, what we doing right now, Jeff, I didn't know how.
Yeah. And you started with what you had, man.
And you were episode number 2.
I was 2. That's right.
Holy sugar. And episode number 1 was Greg Faulkner. Yeah.
And this all happened because I was your neighbor. Because I lived across the street. I'm like, who's that guy on the balcony waving to me with a baby in his hands?
So we going to practice or not? Are you driving? I don't feel like walking.
Amnesia pill. I don't know who is that.
I think with our appearances, like I'm the guy with the Yankee hat. You're a guy a few shades darker in a Republican Space Ranger neighborhood.
Well, especially if you look different. Especially if you look different, that is the ultimate reason why you should be. You are more marketable. If you look different in a sport that all looks the same,
100%,
you need to get an agent right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Last year I called the game LMU indoor. Yeah, UNLV played LMU on ESPN, and everybody's like, yo, that's the voice that, that's NY Varsity doing ESPN. Yeah. So when they zoomed in, I was wearing a suit. I didn't have the hat, right? And I'm suited up. And my little, that little Jufro I'm rocking, that little mohawk, that fro hawk. Everybody's like, so that's what he looks like. Yeah. So that's what he looks like when he's not.
But no, I mean, even to people who were like, for me, it's like, oh, Jeff Samuels, who's that? And somebody's talking to somebody else, and they'd be like, oh, yeah, this is the black guy, right? Yeah. Like, I don't take offense to that. It's a descriptive term, right? For you, if I'm saying, yo, I am going to meet my buddy Jason, or my buddy Jason's doing the commentating at this tournament, and somebody may not happen to know who you are, I'm like, come on, New York hat, New York accent. They're like, oh, okay. Like, so that's just it's good to be It will help you
It's a
if
challenge.
you are, but
Yeah,
it will help you if you're a little bit different than
it
than
does.
other people that are in your niche, you know.
Yeah.
But
I also think, I don't know, the reason why I've had some success is because, like you, as of a couple of years ago, that's my brand, that's my bottom line. Keep them separate. I'm kind of independent, you know, and it allows me to keep it about the work instead of worrying about being good. Just be. It's such a and I always bring theater back into these podcast conversations. You know, like, am I on stage? Am I on stage saying they're gonna love me, or am I keeping it about the work? And the net result is they love me.
yeah,
Right. And your goal and your expectation. Don't goal and expectations sound like the same thing? And they sound like, what's the difference? There is a difference, right?
yeah.
So the expectation is the work of what your goal is and the obstacles and the tactics around those obstacles, right, Jeff? So it's really worked for me, and thank God it's working for you, dude. Wanted to finish with coaching.
ESPN, something
I
happened.
know, right? Oh, there's a draft. Okay, we got
What kind of draft?
the NBA draft. Yeah. Well, we know who's going one. That cat from Duke is just.
I don't watch any of that.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
I mean,
I didn't watch the playoffs.
well, my parents, my wife's parents went to Duke.
Oh.
Law
What's
school.
his name?
Law school. Flag.
Flagler.
Yeah, Flag. Yeah. He's
I was like, Flagler.
So I follow for college basketball. I follow Harvard, Duke, and I'm a Syracuse guy in St. John's. So as a New Yorker, I follow.
Sounds boring.
Yeah. Not for no
I'm
single
just kidding.
elimination.
Duke is.
Imagine
Duke
that,
is,
like single, all that work you put in one
Harvard?
game. Yeah, Harvard's. Listen, Jeremy Lin was there.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about Jeremy Lin. Jeremy Lin, how the hell he even stayed in Harvard? He was a 3.1 economics major, and his GPA, guys, his GPA was 3.1. Where's my camera? 3.1. That's an Asian F. Okay, I'm sorry. You know, you need a certain. I think you need to have a certain GPA to stay in that major. Like for me, I studied theater.
You're a good athlete,
Jeff. I studied theater, but you had to have a 3.3 to stay in the major I was in. You know, so yeah. So if I won the lottery tonight, should I try to buy the AVP, Aaron? Yes, because between you, John Moran. I'm naming people by name, and now Jeff Samuels, just creative ideas. And the cool thing about this podcast, Jeff, is we didn't supply everybody with all the answers. We gave people just enough information where they're asking the right question.
Yeah, it's a spark. It's a good spark.
You knew my dude. You were with me since episode 2. You knew what my focus of this was. Yeah. We're not here to lecture from on high. We're just trying to put things in perspective where we shape the question, where the audience and us can answer it together. Because that's growing the game. That's volleyball unity. That's volleyball activism. Thank God you're doing that. Let's talk about coaching, Jeff.
Okay.
Because I mean, you know, the AC's on, but it does. I mean, at some point it's
toasty in here.
I know. That's because I get heated with you. I'm like, man, you crazy, and you're Jeff. I'm crazy because you're not listening to me, Jay. Just like I'm crazy because you didn't listen to whole sentences, Jay. Why and how was your transition? I'm not going to say transition because you're still an active player, but like this transition to coaching. Mm-hmm. In my experience, I really frown at players who coach right away at like heightened positions because the gift of gab and translating it and playing it are two different things. You, like so many other people, made the transition seem almost seamless. Was it due to your communication, your ability to communicate with people and diagnose personalities and do that? Just painting drawing the picture for everybody. Jeff and I coached together. You're coaching other places, but we started together for Beach at Endless Summer.
Right.
And this Endless Summer ended up having 19 kids, and we had 13 Division I commitments out of that 19-person roster. This insane ratio that has never happened before, will never happen again. And a lot of coaches jumped in front of that parade, you know, claiming this and that, but we know what's up. How did you do it? I know how I did it because I was a coach before I moved here. How did you do it?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I played a lot of different sports and had a lot of different coaches, and I just know what translates well with me. And for me, like, X's and O's are obviously a big part of any sport or anything you do, and fundamentals. But for me, like, energy for me is a big thing. like, do I feel like this coach really wants the best for me, right? And then how if he does want the best for me, like, how does he portray that to me? Is he yelling at me the whole time? Is he this or that? And I feel like I, kind of get in their butt when I need to a little bit, but I don't like overly do that. And it's not about me being right per se. It's more about like
getting it right.
Yeah, are we getting it right today? Are we coming in with the right attitudes today? Are we grateful about what we are doing? That was always huge for me too. And somehow I ended up in a role where, even with lacking some of that coaching for myself as a player, I was helping to get these girls ready for their college, transition, right? And it was basically based off of all basically energy stuff, not energy in a woo-woo way where we're like on the court with crystals and stuff, but it's like what energy am I bringing to them, and how am I shaping their mind into being like ready to take that next step? Because ultimately that coach is at the college level is going to teach them probably more than what I knew at that time, right? But are they going to go there and be coachable?
And did you make that possible?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As a juniors coach, did you make that possible for Stein? And again, guys, these are like, out of the 13 commitments, we had 3 go to USC. Natalie ended up going to UCLA, right? Finley Rollins just transferred to Cal Poly. She was at Berkeley. She's at Berkeley. She was at Davis before. Serena is back in school. University of Miami. She returned back to school. Remember Serena Ramirez?
Cool.
Selena ended up going to Arizona. She wasn't even like a division. She wasn't even part of that Division I list, right? Leah Black, right? Long Beach State. Kaylee Jones, Long Beach State. Presley Forbes, the program director's daughter, Hawaii, transferred to FIU. Yeah, just
Zoe Almanza, Oregon.
Yep.
But yeah, like
Ashley Schroeder.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was
more of a private coaching thing, though.
So that was like my.
What a list, the Savages, though, right? And not all of them got to start in the Paris system, but
I mean, you go into top schools in the country, that's pretty good for them.
Jeff, and the reason why I always highlight you is because we had, all right, I'll just go through the list. We had Jaron Barreto with us, right? That's a really good coach. We have Pompeo, who I think Oz Borges, who's here. He's in the South Bay now, guys. We're gonna get some reps. Rob McLean came up with us, right? He was coaching, but his IQ over the years
he's got a great IQ,
doesn't he? Isn't he fantastic? Me, right? I'm a dirty New Yorker, right? So I want you to go through we're going through the list of where you guys are from. You're from Flint, right? Jaron's from the Philippines. Pompeo's from Ahio or Curitiba or Rio de Janeiro.
Brazil.
We think Brazil is like a city, right? He's from Africa, which has 54 countries, right? Rob's Long Island, New York. I'm a city kid. Oz is Cuban, from Cuba, spent time in Florida. Lacey Fuller, who was with us for like a year, South Bay product. Andrew Dentler left when you came. He's from Pennsylvania. So this group of savages.
Deron Forbes.
And the Queen Bee, Deron Forbes, right? No, but my point is I'm bringing up infinitely different personalities, infinitely different coaching perspectives, what we believe is the right way to do, that somehow we got together and figured it out. Because Deron's the one that made that possible. Like Deron's the one that's like, look, I got 5 good coaches. Here's my credit card. Go to the restaurant and like go eat. Like that's what she did. She gave me her credit card and she's like, guys, talk it out and figure out how you want to do this. And we did it. And the only reason why I'm talking more than you is because out of all of those coaches that come with the pedigree and credentials, I always found you as my favorite because you were able to bring, metaphorically speaking, and sometimes literally, down the eye level where the kid doesn't feel like they respect you as an authority, but they're not intimidated by you. And it just made your ability to communicate better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like they probably got people yelling at them all day about what they should be doing or not doing, especially as a kid.
Where's Oz? Like Oz.
That's the time where everyone's telling you not to stand on the coffee table and not to do this and not to do that. And I just wasn't there to do that. I was there to just tell them how important it was to do things,
Yeah.
Right. How important it
Eric
was to
Cam, I
get,
see
get a
you.
good understanding, you know. So
Yeah.
and I most of that comes from like my mom and my grandma, who were big influences in my life. And like,
Yeah.
granted, you know, they were parental figures. I just knew that like my grandma was not an educated person, like per se, but she always had these life sayings and experiences that would make you feel like she had your best interest
Right.
at heart, right? So I just wanted them to know that like, yo, I'm really here to help you get better. You know, I may not know everything that will take you on your journey, but right now in this step, you know, I am here for you to get better, and you damn well better use me to the best of your ability, you know, like. And I don't really know. I guess I don't even know how to explain how
Eric
I
Cam
did
just
that, but
jumped in. He said, "My guess is Jeff's conviction is the why. Like your investment to want to see these. I guess he's talking about your
yeah, I
investment
coached
in
him.
wanting to see these girls do well.
Well,
Yeah.
what up, Eric? I when he comes to St. Pete, we always get a session or two in.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess that is true too. I say this about like, it's funny because I say this about my community in St. Pete because there's a lot of coaches out there, and there's some good coaches out there too, right? But even in some of the programs that are coaching out there, their goal is to make money, right? And I guess that's why I'm not a full-time coach, is because I'm so invested in you getting better, right? And a lot of people aren't really in volleyball, especially in the adult rec market. They're not there to get better, in my honest opinion. They are either there to be social, or they're there to feel better about themselves. They're not there to get better. Feeling better,
And I've seen that.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Feeling better means that like I went out there and I did a little something, right? But actually getting better, you got to kind of go through something to get better.
100%.
But feeling better may be like, you know, I went out there and I feel better because I talked to this person while I was there. I did this or that, like. But getting better, you actually, you know, you have to put in some work to do that. And like, I'm really invested in, like, I don't feel good if you come to my practice for a week and you didn't get better. I feel crappy about that. And I don't think that all coaches feel that way.
Right.
They're like, oh, I did my part. You know, I did my part, and I did the bare minimum. And it's up to you to get better. But for me, I guess I
call those,
will not feel
those
good.
are glorified babysitters, though.
Yeah, I won't feel very good.
We have a term for those kinds of people. Those are called glorified babysitters. Those are the ones, and I know I'm gonna upset some people, but those, I guess, if the shoe fits, wear it. Those are the type of people that grab kids at 17 and 18. Kids are already fully developed, already went through the massive tournaments. They're already recruited, and they're at the end to make sure the kids don't beat themselves, right?
Yeah.
Now, I understand the value of, like, you know what? I'm just here to guide these kids from now to college, and I understand there's a value in that too. But like you said, like, I did my part. It's up to you to get better. Kind of limits where she can go, right? Only two things are going to happen: something worse or nothing at all.
Yeah, and it just teaches you the wrong overall system in your mind of like what it takes to achieve something,
right?
You know, feeling better is one thing, and that's cool. That's all good. Like if that's your goal, that's fine.
Yeah.
Feeling
hope you get everything you do.
Feeling a little bit better about yourself,
right?
That's cool. But actually getting better to me is a little bit different.
Yeah, Eric Camp says he put the challenge in front of us and had really high expectations to execute. And for my money, I love that. He also said, and we'll challenge the hell out of an athlete. And from my experience, getting to work with him for a bit in Florida, right? How about Rob McLean and Jeff team up? That's my, come on, stop. Don't do that. Don't mess with my feelings. Cause
Who's that?
Eric Cam. Don't mess with my feelings. Cause Jeff knows for 2 years. I mean, like, there was a point where both of you were playing like your best volleyball that I would have just loved seeing. Just love to see one of the most dynamic defenders. And again, if you guys actually trained together and worked out the other, because Rob has a little bit of man child, and you did a little bit too. Jeff, wow, that would have been a marketable team. That would have been a team where you can travel and do all the fun things. But I'm really glad that we got to cover, you know, because sometimes I'm an out of control gangster when you're on a podcast, but we came on with an agenda to talk about how to market yourself. Because right now I think you're making more money than half the people on the tour because not playing on the tour, because the stops you make here and there and your sponsors, you are quite the game manager. I know. You really are.
Yeah.
No.
I got to go to work.
All right. So
wait, I got a couple sponsors. Hold on.
Yep.
Sandohana. I really want to thank you guys. Sharp Vision, always been there. Love you guys. Let's go volleyball. That's Motherlode.
It's Motherlode, yes.
right there. So
shout out to Corey Brindell, who makes that happen every year.
Yeah, if you guys want to go be whole, I always say that because like it's such a tranquil. It's like a meditation, isn't it? The entire time.
You don't be starting with that. You complete me.
Yeah.
Jeff. I'm
yeah, dude.
Really sorry I held you up, but and we could talk about favorite movies later. I could do that in the segment attached to that because I want to know the last good movie you watched, good book you read. But for now,
I'm going to see the F1. Now, this is what I will say. I'm going to see the Brad Pitt F1 movie.
Yep.
Tomorrow early.
Did you see Working Man? Jason Statham.
No.
That's out on the stream somewhere. I'm gonna watch that tonight.
Cool.
Hey guys, Jeff might love you, but I don't love any of you guys. In fact, I can't stand you. So for all of you at home, for all of you on your desktop, for all of you on your iPhones, iPods, who runs the world, new school and old school, this is my man Jeffrey.
Check
Kennedy
out my
Samuels.
nonprofit Impact Volleyball.
Yes, that's my man, Jeffrey Kennedy Samuels. I'm Jason DeBeers. Aaron Wexler says both of you define the inspired coach, and we're going to finish with that. We are out of here. Come check out the Option Podcast on optionvb.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.